Chapter 322. The monster that Yu Yang was attacking looked extremely strange. It looked like a fish with horns and an insect with claws. Dozens of octopus tentacle-like limbs were covered with densely packed barbs and suckers of different sizes. The front end of each octopus tentacle could split into a huge bloody mouth, from which spear-like poisonous thorns could be seen. Its body was as huge as a mountain. It could continuously change its shape and move. Its skin could split open at any time, just like a slime, revealing a horrifying mouth filled with shark teeth. Its eyes were at the top of its head, growing within its flesh. There were a few of them on both sides. The monster had horns on its head. There were dozens of sharp horns that covered its entire head. It seemed that it was not only a form of protection, but also a powerful weapon to attack. The corrosive ghost-faced crab from before would have exploded if it had been the corrosive ghost-faced crab from before. However, this strange monster only went crazy from the pain after being attacked by Yu Yang's fire and ice attacks. It did not fall down from its injuries. Strictly speaking, it was only injured by the sharp crescent blade and Hui Jin magic blade. The fire and ice attacks did not do much damage to it. Its smooth skin seemed to have a strong resistance to fire and cold. Yu Yang saw that even if its skin was on fire, it would quickly be extinguished. As for the ice, it only slightly froze its body and slowed down its movements. After a while, the effect would be greatly reduced, and it would recover to its original state. Yu Yang was slightly surprised at this result. It was actually immune to fire and ice. What kind of monster was this? There were many monsters that were not afraid of fire, but there were very few that could resist both fire and ice, which were the exact opposite of each other. Be careful. This fellow is not afraid of fire or attacks. It's very difficult to deal with. Feng Kuang, Feng Xiao Yun, Shui Wen Dao, Yin Xianzhong, Eastern Sky King, and Western Sky King had originally joined hands to attack the monster. Seeing that Yu Yang had come, they immediately retreated, leaving the battlefield to the innate rancor, Yu Yang. Feng Kuang shouted at Yu Yang, reminding him loudly, "Its skin can recover. It's not afraid of being cut by knives or axes. We have to think of another way." Yu Yang obviously had a way to deal with this monster. Even if it was not afraid of fire, Nirvana's flame could still burn it to death. As long as it wasn't a pure object, Nirvana's flame would destroy any living creature or object. Even if it was a person's spirit or soul, it wouldn't be able to resist its burning and purification. If the object's energy was very strong and the person's spirit and consciousness were extremely strong, the burning time would be even longer. However, it wasn't completely ineffective. There is no existence in the world that could ignore or devour Nirvana's flame. Even Phoenix Fairy Beauty's body was in so much pain that she wished she was dead. If not for Yu Yang, she would not have survived the Nirvana flame pillar alone. It was precisely because the Nirvana's flame was absolutely pure and had unparalleled power that it could destroy and purify everything in the world. It also had the special ability to revive life. That was why it was known as the world's #1 flame. There was no doubt about the first place. No flames or willpower could affect the Nirvana flame, but the Nirvana flame could burn and purify everything, including flames. Yu Yang might be the first warrior in history who could truly control Nirvana's flame. Of course, this was related to the two phoenixes. Other than the Nirvana flame, Yu Yang also had the World Exterminating Wheel. The World Exterminating Wheel, which had the immemorial, ancient era and heaven realm runes, was also an unprecedented existence. As long as Yu Yang threw it into the World Exterminating Wheel, even a rancor like Shun Tian would not be able to escape unscathed. The reason why the World Exterminating Wheel could not be used was not because it was not powerful enough. It was because Yu Yang did not have the best control of its movement and was not able to unleash its full potential. Other than these two, Yu Yang still had many other killing moves. Not to mention the innate invisible sword chi. Even the flame bow and ice arrow created by Yu Yang were enough to make this monster suffer. However, Yu Yang did not use any of them. He only silently condensed a ball of star explosion. when the greedy and ugly monster opened its bloody mouth and wanted to swallow Yu Yang. Yu Yang shot his star explosion deep into its internal organs, and he easily teleported away. That ugly monster did not care about this kind of attack at all. Its internal organs seemed to have a very strong endurance. It can swallow shock waves. Master Golden Blade reminded loudly. Just now, his blade aura also took the opportunity when it opened its mouth to slash into it. He did not expect that it would not be injured at all. Rumble! Yu Yang clenched his fist. This was his will to activate his domain. Currently, it was still very small, the size of a ball, but it suddenly exploded in the ugly monster's stomach. It was true that the ugly monster was able to swallow energy. However, that depended on what kind of energy it could swallow. For example, an ant could move a grain of rice. This was the extent of its strength. For it, easily moving a grain of rice was already very impressive. However, if a 10,000 gene boulder was placed in front of it, no matter how strong the ant's ability to move things was, it would still be impossible for it to move it. If Master Golden Blade's blade aura was a grain of rice, then Yu Yang's domain power, star explosion, would be a 10,000 kilogram boulder. That greedy, ugly monster's stomach exploded with a huge bloody hole. The tentacles, the spikes on its head, the disgusting eyeballs, and all kinds of colorful internal organs all exploded out. Furthermore, with Yu Yang's heaven eyes divine vision, he even saw a strange black pearl exploding in midair. Good stuff. Yu Yang quietly kept it into his lich ring. He looked at the monster that had half its body blown up. This monster was actually not dead yet. Jun Wuyu and the rest were very excited. They had attacked it for half a day, but not only were they unable to kill this incomparably ugly and greedy monster, they were even almost injured by it. Yu Yang destroyed half of its body with just one attack. Seems like innate rancors were indeed different. Feng Kuang, Feng Xiaoyun, Xue Wendao, and the rest looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They could feel that Yu Yang had become even stronger after a few months of not seeing him. Now, he even had a domain. This kind of improvement was like 1,000 miles in a day. It was a pity that Yin Pejun and Feng Qi Sha, who had experienced so much in the Eastern Goblin tribe, were still working hard to become level 6 Elder. A level 7 Overlord was like a huge mountain, stopping these two young geniuses. Unlike Yu Yang, not only had he reached the innate realm, he had also comprehended the domain power that only innate rankers who were at least level 5 innate rankers could possess. It was really infuriating to compare oneself to others. Yu Yang discovered that the ugly monster that had half of its body blown up could still slowly recover to its original state. Although most of its body had been blown up, its muscles and skin started to grow again. In less than 5 minutes, it had completely recovered to its original state. Of course, its strength had decreased a lot. It was very different from its aggressive appearance just now. Other than the fact that its body needed a lot of energy to recover, Yu Yang guessed that the reason why the ugly monster had become weaker was because it had lost the pearl that he had kept in his lich ring. Seems like there was still a big secret hidden in that black pearl. Xue Wuxia and Princess Sisai chatted with Jun Wuyu and Elder Yuhai for a while. When they saw that the monster had recovered, they immediately came over to help. Seeing that his daughter had a lover and had thrown her father aside, Jun Wuyu couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly at Elder Yuhai. Seems like this ill-fated couple was fated to be together. At that time, they would have to call each other their own, otherwise they wouldn't know how to clean up the mess. If they pretended not to care, it would be selfish of them. They would definitely want to get the approval of both parents so that they could happily get married. However, if they agreed to it, the seniority of the elders would be awkward. Since June Wuyu came back from the Eastern Goblin tribe, he had seen a lot of things. He felt that it wasn't a loss for his daughter to marry Yu Yang. No matter what, he was still an innate son-in-law. If it was someone else, they would probably fight to marry their daughter to him. For example, the Eastern Sky King. That fellow didn't care about his reputation at all. He was the first one who went to Yu Yang's door to seek happiness for his beloved daughter, Fallen Flowers. That fellow was the most qualified father. Xue Wuxia held Yu Yang's hand and started to condense her frost chi. The temperature of the whole space dropped rapidly. With the help of Yu Yang's innate qi, Yu Yang and Shui Wuxia, who practiced body fusion, together, how terrifying would the frost be? The answer could be seen from the expressions on Jun Wu Yu and the others' faces. Jun Wu Yu and the others realized that the temperature they felt 10 seconds ago was still normal, but when they breathed in and exhaled, it had turned into white gas. The lake water became turbulent because of the shock waves from the battle. But now, the lake water was condensing into a thin layer of ice at a speed visible to the naked eye. As the snowflakes danced in the sky, the layer of ice on the lake became thicker and thicker. In the end, the Whitestone City Master's beast, Bai Yin, walked on the surface of the ice. Even though it was carrying a dozen tons of weight, the ice did not move at all. When Feng Kuang and the others saw this, they were all shocked. It turned out that not only was Yu Yang abnormal, this little girl Shui Wuxia was also terrifying. She might not be an innate, but she was probably only a step away. As long as she took another step forward, she would become an innate. The eagle-eyed guy even felt that the old cunning vice principal didn't give him this kind of pressure when he exploded. Another 20 years old innate? Jun Wu Yu and Elder Yu Hai looked at each other, their eyes filled with joy. They knew that this was definitely Yu Yang's help. Otherwise, no matter how talented Shui Wuxiao was, she wouldn't be able to break through to the innate realm at 20 years old. They didn't care about those lover stuff. They only knew that the Dixia kingdom would have another innate rancor, and the country's power would increase again. To the two old fellows who hoped that the Dixia kingdom would continue for thousands and thousands of years, their future generations would be able to grow under the protection of their predecessors. Of course, they were extremely happy that a new innate would appear. Princess Qian, who was standing on Yu Yang's right hand intertwined with his, shouted loudly. A hurricane-like aura exploded from her body. The shockwave that was emitted shook the bodies of Yin Qianzhong, Feng Xiaoyun, Shui Wendao, and the other elders. The eagle-eyed guy almost fell down. As for the unconscious Yin Pajun and Feng Qisha, they were almost blown 10 meters away. Luckily, the Whitestone City Master and Master Golden Blade managed to catch them in time. With regard to Princess Qian's powerful aura, it gave these seniors a huge fright. Another lesser innate? Since when could innate rancors level up in batches? Jun Wuyu's eyes were opened wider than a cow's eyes. He didn't even dare to recognize his own daughter now. Good. Elder Yu Hai stroked his beard happily. Good. Another lesser innate granddaughter-in-law. Yu Yang really lived up to his expectations. Not only did he have a lot of wives, each one of them was more powerful than the previous one. Fallen Flowers and Inan didn't know that Qian and Wu Xia were already lesser innates. If they were to marry into the Yu clan, wouldn't the Yu clan have 3 innates? Yu Yang brought Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai as they floated in the air beautifully. Shui Wuxia threw out the inability that she had been accumulating for a long time, freezing the originally slow, moving monster into an ice sculpture. Yu Yang rotated his body, using his hands to move Princess Sisai's body. In the sky, there seemed to be a white tiger's roar. A few meters long sword Qi extended out from the giant sword. As Princess Sisai swung her sword, the sword Qi split the sky and slashed towards the ice sculpture. In the process of swinging her sword, Princess Sisai's left hand had been holding Yu Yang's right hand tightly. With the help of his innate qi and White Tiger's qi, the Emperor's sword qi shot out a 10 meters long sword qi. That power seemed to be able to cut the sky, cut the earth, cut everything in the world. With one slash, the ice sculpture was cut into 2. Tiger Strike! Princess Qian let out a delicate shout. The sound waves were released from her mouth. This was the tiger roar that Yu Yang had meticulously modified for her. With this shout, the ice sculpture that was cut into 2 hit the giant hammer. With a loud bang, it exploded into millions of ice shards. Jun Wuyu, Elder Yu Hai, and the other elders were dumbstruck. They couldn't believe the result of the battle in front of them. This was a gold-ranked level 8 demonic beast king. It was actually killed in a single move by Yu Yang and the 2 girls. Could an innate kill a gold-ranked level 8 demonic beast king in a second? It didn't seem possible, right? Furthermore, Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxia were only lesser innates. Yu Yang didn't care about their reactions. He focused on finding the ugly monster's magic crystal. In his heart, what was a gold-ranked level 8? He had even killed a lot of holy beasts and innate rankers. Chapter 323. Yu Yang put away the ugly monster's magic core. He was interested in studying the spear-like poisonous stingers, the strange hard horns, and even the self-healing skin and muscles. He put them into his lich ring one by one. Because of the water pressure, the water flowing from the waterfall gradually broke the layer of ice covering the lake. The solid ice on the lake's surface broke into a few big pieces. Without the support of the Yin ability, the ice gradually melted into water. The gold tiger shark was the happiest. Another gold-ranked level 8 beast for it to feast on. Furthermore, this was different from the web spider. Even if this ugly monster exploded into pieces, its meat was enough for it to eat until it was full. Not only it, Feng Xiaoyun, Yin Qianzhong, and the others beasts were also happily devouring the monster's meat. In order to increase their son's strength, Yin Qianzhong and Feng Xiaoyun even specially went forward to collect a hard horn that originally grew on the monster's head. They were prepared to bring it back for their son to use as a weapon. This kind of hard horn was extremely hard. In addition, it was also immune to ice and fire. If it could be changed into a weapon, it would be a good treasure for Yin Pejun and Feng Qisha. In fact, Yu Yang was also prepared to bring a few hard horns for Yi Kong and Fatty Hai. Although Yi Kong and Fatty Hai might not be suitable to use this monster's hard horn as a weapon for a long time, at least it was an option. Maybe they would need to use it in some battles. It was better to be prepared. As for those small and slender poisonous thorns, Yu Yang kept them for himself. They could be used as throwing spears in the future. They might not be needed to break through the prison Emperor Divine Palace, because it was filled with ghosts. But to advance to the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower, flame bows and ice arrows were not enough. There were too few ice arrows. Yu Yang had heard from Phoenix Fairy Beauty more than once that in the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower and above, they would often meet monsters that were as ferocious as a tidal wave. There were countless of them, and it was impossible to kill them all. These poisonous spears could be used to attack from a long distance. They might even be able to repel the enemy. Son-in-law, where's my precious daughter? Where's my little fallen flowers? East Sky King waited for Yu Yang to come back and immediately asked anxiously. I left her in the grimoire space. It's too dangerous here, and there's water everywhere. What if her body gets wet and she gets sick? If you want to see her, I'll summon her. Yu Yang deliberately pretended to be a good husband, and his words were very close to City Lord Fallen Flowers. No, there's no need. Let her have a good rest. I've already returned from the Easter Goblin tribe. I can't see her any time. It won't be too late to meet her after we get out of here. This prince has survived a great calamity. This time I have returned. I have decided to choose a good and auspicious day to arrange your marriage, lest there be any regrets in my heart. The Eastern Sky King was a good father who really loved his daughter. Although he missed his precious daughter, when he heard Yu Yang's words, he immediately beamed with joy. He felt that he had found the right son-in-law. Although this fellow was a bit of a playboy, he was caring and considerate towards his daughter, which was worthy of praise. Jun Wuyu's ears pricked up as he listened. If the Eastern Sky King really married his daughter off, then everyone in the Soaring Dragon Continent would definitely know about it. It would become a good story. If Little Fallen Flowers became the official wife in name, then wouldn't his daughter have to be a concubine? If he had 3 wives and 4 concubines, the official wife position would probably not be his daughter. It might not even be Little Fallen Flowers. It would most likely be Shui Wuxia, his fiancée who had been engaged since she was young. He had 2 secondary wives. His competitors were Fallen Flowers and Anan. If he acted slowly, then the Xia Kingdom's most beautiful princess Sisai, the future female innate, would have to marry into the Yu clan and become 3rd young master Yu's concubine. Jun Wu Yu and the Eastern Sky King were relatives and close friends, but he definitely could not let this happen. After all, he was also a father. However, he did not have the right to stop the Eastern Sky King from rushing to arrange the marriage. He was really anxious in his heart. Elder Yuhai naturally knew what Junwei was thinking. He chuckled. Everything will be done. This marriage will definitely be done well. However, we are not out of danger yet. Why don't we discuss it together after we get out and see how we can do it well? Junwei naturally understood that Elder Yuhai was helping him. Actually, it was enough to have a buffer time. He must not let the Eastern Sky King force Yu Yang to agree immediately. Otherwise, his daughter would have to become a concubine. He also knew that Yu Yang would not mistreat his daughter. Wu Xia, Fallen Flowers, and Inan would also not make things difficult for his precious daughter. However, in the eyes of ordinary people, his daughter's value would drop. No matter what, Qian Qian was still a princess. A Xia princess. Even if she could not become the official wife, she could not become a concubine. Junwei thought of this and immediately made a decision. When he got out, he must first mention this matter to Yu Yang. He could not continue to be muddle-headed. Otherwise, he and his daughter would not be able to show their faces. The warriors from the two countries gathered around. Feng Kuang, Eagle-Eyed Man, Whitestone City Master, Master Golden Blade, and the others all asked about what happened in the past few months when they left the soaring dragon continent. When they heard that the fake Yu Qiu had allied with the goblin race, Demon Abyss, Thousand Goblin Sect, Green Summit Sect, Zijin Kingdom, Seven Great Dippers, and the Great Emperor of Ziwei Shun Tian to control the Yu clan, overturn Xia, and invade the dragon-swallowing continent, they were all shocked. When Yang told them that Green Summit Sect leader Duan, Mu Longcheng, and Vice Sect leader Machi Su Ling were killed by him, the fake Yu Qiu and demon innate ranker Qi Liao were also killed by Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxia. Everyone was dumbfounded. You can kill the seven Great Dippers in an instant. Elder Yuhai was extremely happy. This brat was too awesome. They were fake innates. They were not strong. Wu Xia and Qian Qian could kill them now. Yu Yang nodded. Feng Xiao Yun, Shui Wendao, Yin Qian Zhong, and the others all felt ashamed. As seniors, they felt a lot of pressure. Even if they were fake innates, the seven Great Dippers were not people they could fight against. Even if the four great clans' patriarchs joined forces, they would not be able to defeat a Yao Guan. It would be hard for them to not be defeated. Who would have thought that Yu Yang could kill them in an instant? Where's Dong Lu? Why don't I see him? Master Golden Blade, Whitestone City Master, Eastern Sky King, and Western Sky King were good friends with the old fox. They felt it was strange that they did not see him, who was an expert in teleportation. This is the Forbidden Space Gate. He has already become an innate, so he can't enter. When Yu Yang said this, Eastern Sky King and the others spat out water and coughed nonstop. This was also the first time Yu Yang knew the old fox's name. So this guy was called Shui Dong Lu. Shui Dong Lu. Could it be that this name came from the spring river flowing eastward? With regards to the old fox's name, Yu Yang made a malicious guess. No wonder the old fox never said his name. It turned out that his name was so wretched. As for how an innate like Yu Yang could enter, Eastern Sky King and the others did not doubt at all, because this guy himself was an abnormal existence. However, the old fox who had been stuck at a bottleneck for tens of years suddenly became an innate Eastern Sky King, and the others were really curious. When Princess Sisai mentioned the martial arts pill, they immediately came to a realization. No wonder the old fox could become an innate. It turned out that Yu Yang had successfully refined the martial arts pill. I don't have any hopes of becoming an innate, but I still need to eat one martial arts pill. Eastern Sky King patted Yu Yang's shoulder. Son-in-law, count this as a betrothal gift. We don't have the ingredients now, but when we have the ingredients, you can eat one and throw one away. Yu Yang was reminding the few people in charge of the soaring dragon continent that if there were any good ingredients in the treasury, they should not keep them and wait for them to be eaten by worms. They should quickly take them out to refine pills. To Yu Yang, the martial arts pill was not difficult to refine. The martial god pill and the rebirth pill were the most difficult ones. However, with the Qilin girl here, Yu Yang felt that these were not a problem. The most difficult thing was to collect the ingredients. Yu Yang's words ignited the ambitions of these seniors. Individual talents were limited. In the 4 great clans and the 2 royal families, warriors like Feng Xiaoyun and Eastern Sky King were all stuck at the bottleneck between level 6 Advanced, Elder, and level 7, Overlord. The only one who could break through was Jun Wuyu. The others could only continue to accumulate their skills and train hard at level 6 Advanced, Elder. Some of them could not advance even an inch for more than 10 years, almost wearing out their fighting spirit. Most of them turned to nurture their clan's descendants or manage their clan, working hard to nurture the next generation. For example, Yin Xinzhong and Feng Xiaoyun had almost given up on the idea of becoming level 7 Overlord. They placed their hopes on their sons Yin Pejun and Feng Qisha. Now, if they had the martial arts pill, although they were still far from an 8, it was not impossible for them to become level 7 Overlord and level 8 Emperor. They had enough skills, but they did not have the opportunity to break through. The martial arts pill was the breaking point to break through the bottleneck. As long as they were not those pig-headed mercenaries with mediocre aptitudes, they would definitely be able to break through. We will think of a way to get the ingredients. We must refine the martial arts pill. As an emperor, Jun Wuyu was captured by the Eastern Goblin tribe in the palace. Although he returned safely, he still felt ashamed. He also knew that he had already passed his adolescence. He might not be able to become an 8, but he must take the martial arts pill. He was definitely not satisfied with becoming a level 7 Overlord. He wanted to become stronger. In the soaring dragon continent, where the strong preyed on the weak, the stronger the emperor was, the more the commoners would believe in him, and the more the enemies would be afraid. After everyone finished their small gathering, they decided to continue down the river in the Karst Cave, looking for an exit. With Yu Yang, this abnormally strong person, protecting them, even if they met strong beasts along the way, they would not have to worry anymore. Not to mention the Eastern Sky King and the others who loved to fight. Even the old Elder Yu Hai and the noble Jun Wuyu would occasionally join in the battle. Among them, the ones who were the most enthusiastic were of course Feng Kuang and the Eagle-Eyed Man. They were only 1 generation older than Yu Yang, so they were not considered old. They still had potential and hoped to continue to grow stronger. Hence, they worked the hardest, using real battles as training. Yin Pejun and Feng Qisha, who had fainted due to heavy injuries, had already woken up after their father's timely treatment. They could not fight gold-ranked beasts. Even silver-ranked beasts would be hard to deal with. In the underground river of the ancient passage, there were all kinds of super high-level beasts. They were either gold-ranked level 6, silver-ranked level 7, or bronze-ranked level 8. There were almost no beasts below bronze-ranked level 6. The group of people went down the river. With the attitude of hiding if they could and fighting if they couldn't, they killed their way out. 3 days later, they finally found the teleportation exit. If Yu Yang did not bring Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxiao to rescue them, it would be impossible for them to escape unscathed. This is only the outer area of the God's ruins. I think we should be at the bottom of the Death Canyon now. In this sealed unit space, there are already such terrifying beasts. I really can't imagine how strong the living beings in the inner area of the God's ruins are. The difficulty of the God's ruins, the core area, is probably not lower than the heaven realm. Jun Wuyu let out a sigh after leaving. In front of the teleportation door, Yu Yang discovered that there were a few different teleportation points. He reckoned that other than the exit, there should be other corresponding areas in the Karst Cave. For example, the Karst Cave was water, so there must be fire, earth, wind, and other areas. Furthermore, the Karst Cave was not completely explored. Along the way, Yu Yang avoided many areas that he felt were dangerous. He didn't really walk through the entire Karst Cave. He only went down the river from the entrance and found an exit. How big was the Karst Cave? What was its real secret? Yu Yang and the others still had no idea. The monsters they met on the way were not king-ranked. There must be one here. It was just that Yu Yang was anxious to save Jun Wuyu and the others. He didn't have time to look for the Golden King Beast or the Karst Cave King. Were there any secret treasures in the Karst Cave? Yu Yang thought that there would definitely be treasures here, but he didn't have the time to look for them carefully. After coming out of the prison Emperor Divine Palace, his new goal should be to enter the Death Canyon according to the treasure map and explore the mysterious god's ruins. Of course, when Princess Sisai and the others had the ability to protect themselves, Yu Yang also wanted to take a look at the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower. If he wanted to conquer the Heaven Realm, he must first build a good foundation at the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower. Coming out of the Kar's cave, Yu Yang realized that the exit was not the teleportation circle that the ascetic practice saint and the others were guarding. Of course, he couldn't be bothered to meet up with them now. Yu Yang was worried that the corrupted warriors and the Eastern Goblin tribe would set up an ambush. In the end, he decided to bring Junwu Yu and the others out of the ancient passage and return to the Yu clan castle. Then, he would personally look for the old fox and the ascetic practice saint and tell them that Junwu Yu and the others had escaped from danger. This was the right move. Yu Yang's cautious approach allowed Junwu Yu and the others to escape from danger. When Yu Yang returned to the ancient passage alone, he realized that a large number of Eastern Goblin tribe rebels were confronting the ascetic practice saint and the others. With the rebel strength, he believed that they wouldn't be able to deal with the heavenly Imperial Guardians. However, with their advantage in numbers, the ascetic practice saint and the others definitely wouldn't be able to protect Junwu Yu and the others. There were too many of them. Scram! Yu Yang ignited his nirvana flame in one hand and condensed his world-exterminating wheel in the other. He gave a final order to the Eastern Goblin tribe rebels. With regards to Yu Yang, this terrifying enemy, the 3 leaders of the Eastern Goblin tribe rebels were quite worried. When they saw that Yu Yang had already saved Junwu Yu and the others, they knew that there was no turning back. They decided to give up on their attack and retreat in an orderly manner. They completely gave up on their plan to capture the Soaring Dragon Continent's human warriors. Originally, with the human warriors in their hands, they could stop the human innates from joining hands with the Dragon Emperor. But now that the opportunity had disappeared, they didn't need to risk their lives against the human heavenly Imperial Guardians. Furthermore, with the help of Yu Yang, before the 3 leaders of the rebels left, they stared deeply at Yu Yang for a long time, as if they wanted to remember his appearance. In the end, they led their troops out of the ancient passage and returned to the outer realm. The only one who stayed behind was the Goblin General Pipa, whom they had met previously. She smiled at Yu Yang. "You've improved again. It's only been a few months, and you've already improved so much. Humans, you're really a race that makes people envious." This charming lady played the jade pipa softly as she walked away leisurely. Slowly, she disappeared from Yu Yang's sight. Yu Yang secretly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. This Goblin General Pipa was definitely not a simple person. Although she wasn't famous in the Soaring Dragon Continent, she might be a terrifying existence like the Impatiens in the Outer Realm in the Eastern Goblin tribe. It wasn't good to be enemies with her now, because Yu Yang still needed to challenge the prison Emperor Divine Palace in his best condition. He needed to challenge the Heaven Realm rankers who have been sealed there for thousands of years, and even the Heaven Realm great leaders. Even their souls were once the 2 great leaders of the Heaven Realm. These 2 souls that had been sealed for 6,000 years would be the strongest enemies that Yu Yang had met so far. They would also be his ultimate goal in the short term. Chapter 3:24. Yuling was not disappointed with Elder Yuhai's return. Instead, he heaved a sigh of relief. The pressure of being the substitute clan master was too great. If Yuling did not have Yu Yang's support, he would have collapsed long ago. Now that his father had returned, the pressure in his heart was greatly reduced. His father's praise made him feel satisfied for the first time in his life. This was not the satisfaction of power, but the warmth of family love that he had not felt for a long time. Compared to his incomparably outstanding big brother Yushan and third brother Yuchio, Yuling had never been valued and affirmed by his father like today. Although Elder Yuhai had brought back his 5th brother Yuting from a secret place, the position of substitute clan master still belonged to Yuling. Elder Yuhai had even promised Yuling that if 9th brother Yufeng was willing to be the clan master, he would also nurture him equally. Regarding this, Yuling as his son was moved to tears. Fifth brother Yu Ting was chosen by his father and the elders to be the future clan master because of his physique, beasts, and personality. He had been secretly nurtured since young. Of course, Yuling knew about this. He even knew that his son Yufeng was not suitable to be the clan master. However, this promise showed his father's fairness. Even if Yufeng was not suitable to be the clan master, his father would not neglect his nurturing. His son was valued by his father in the clan. With his nephew Yu Yang's guidance in the future, in addition to his good potential, it was not impossible for him to become an innate in 100 years. Third brother, if you don't like being the clan master and you are busy, I will not force you. I will give this to you. The Yu clan has been hoping for an innate for hundreds of years. However, this thing has been kept by the clan master for hundreds of years. There has never been a chance. Today, I will pass it to you. Elder Yu Hai passed a rune crystal to Yu Yang in front of fifth elder, second uncle Yu Ling, and fifth brother Yu Ting. This was the real key to the puppet palace. Created by the ghost genius Yu Gong, the three Renaissance heroes hoped that one of their descendants would become an innate ranker and inherit the clan's greatest treasure. Hence, they placed all the treasures that had been passed down for thousands of years into the puppet palace. Originally, Elder Yu Hai thought that his son, Yu Qiu, was the most likely candidate to inherit the palace key. He never thought that he would die at such a young age. Instead, it was his useless grandson, Yu Yang, who far surpassed his expectations. He had wanted to give the key to the palace to Yu Yang for a long time, but he didn't know if his stubborn grandson would accept it. Right now, when his clan was almost destroyed by the fake Yu Qiu's hands, he stood up bravely and fought against the great emperor of Ji Wei, Shun Tian. He killed the sect leader and vice-sect leader of the Green Summit sect, who had been enemies for thousands of years, and the 7 Great Bears brothers at the foot of the castle. With his own strength, he reversed the situation of the battle, turning the tide and reviving his clan. This battle made Elder Yu Hai completely relieved. Although this grandson's temper was a little stubborn and his killing intent was a little big, he was still his grandson after all. The blood of the Yu clan flowed in his body. Furthermore, he had been at odds with his family because everyone had looked down on him. In reality, everyone knew that this brat was extremely filial. He remembered that he and Bing Er had pulled the horse carriage together and charged into the Yu clan castle. It was all for his fourth mother's sake. With such a grandson, what regrets would there be in life? If there's something inside that everyone can use, I will take it back. Yu Yang didn't stand on ceremony with him and took the rune crystal. The rune crystal looked ordinary in Elder Yu Hai's hands. It looked like a normal crystal with a few small heaven runes on it. However, when the rune crystal entered Yu Yang's hands, it immediately released a dazzling light that illuminated the whole study room. It only dissipated after a long time. Could this be the legendary divine equipment choosing its master? Elder Yu Hai and the others looked at the glowing crystal in surprise. Yu Yang secretly laughed. Actually, it wasn't like that at all. This rune crystal seal would slowly unravel when innate chi came into contact with it. If it was a normal innate level 1 ranker, he would probably need at least 10 days to completely unravel it. However, for Yu Yang, who had extremely pure innate chi and understood heaven runes, 1 minute was enough. Yu Yang channeled his innate chi into the crystal, completely unlocking the seal on the heavenly rune. This rune crystal, made by the ghost genius Yu Gong, was not only a key, it was also a tool to test innate strength. Once it confirmed that Yu Yang was an innate, it immediately emitted a bright light, transmitting the map of the palace and all kinds of information about the traps and mechanisms into Yu Yang's mind. Regarding this, Yu Yang realized that this ghost genius Yu Gong was really an extremely powerful person. He wasn't an innate, but he could create an innate ranker's equipment. How many other treasures like the quintet golden puppet mice and the rune crystal would there be in the puppet palace? The current Yu Yang was really looking forward to it. Go! I also want to know what kind of treasure our ancestor left for our Yu clan. Elder Yu Hai smiled happily. In his eyes, the treasure passed down by their ancestor had acknowledged Yu Yang. This not only meant that their ancestors' treasure existed, It also meant that Yu Yang's identity was unquestionable. If this brat wasn't a descendant of the Yu clan, how could he be acknowledged by their ancestors' treasure? The negative influence brought by the fake Yu Qiu had completely disappeared in Elder Yu Hai's heart under the radiant rune crystal. Not only did Elder Yu Hai believe it, even the fifth elder, Yu Ling, and the others believed that Yu Yang wasn't an impostor adopted by fourth daughter-in-law Xian. Furthermore, only an idiot would believe the words of a demon that was trying to sow discord instead of his own kin. The appearance of the fake Yu Qiu had even forced Yushan to leave. Now everyone felt that Yushan must have some secrets. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been forced to leave by the fake Qiu Yu. Because, if Yushan was really a demon, wouldn't he be in cahoots with the fake Qiu Yu? It would be perfect for them to join hands and fight against the Yu clan. If he wanted to run away, it would mean that he had some secrets coming out from the study room. Yu Yang saw Princess Sisai waiting outside. That old fellow seems to have something to tell you. I'm warning you, don't talk about us when you talk. Otherwise, don't expect me to pay attention to you. How smart was Princess Qianqian? Of course she knew that when Yu Yang talked to her father, it would definitely be about their engagement. Don't worry. If the emperor bestows a marriage upon me, I will tactfully reject it. Yu Yang knew that although Tigress looked young, she was actually willing to marry him in her heart. He purposely teased her. Princess Sisai was angry when she heard that. She punched Yu Yang fiercely. Looking at your expression of being unable to get married, you are really quite pitiful. Tigress, don't be anxious. I will bear the pain and agree to it. Hearing Yu Yang's words, Princess Sisai was extremely embarrassed. She took out the giant sword on her back, wanted to chop this brat to death. This scared Yu Yang so much that he ran away while screaming. When Yu Yang went to meet Jun Wuyu, everyone was waiting outside. Everyone held their breaths, quietly waiting for the good news. After a long time, there was still no movement. Everyone was a little worried that with Yu Yang's stubborn temper, he would fall out with Jun Wuyu. Just when everyone was so nervous that their hearts were in their throats, Yu Yang suddenly came out. No one knew what they were talking about, but when everyone saw Yu Yang's joyous smile, as if he had gained both wealth and talent, they knew that the matter between him and Princess Sisai had been settled. Feng Kuang, Devil-Eyed Man, Whitestone City Master, Master Golden Blade, and the others congratulated Elder Yu Hai. Not mentioning Elder Yu Hai and the others celebrating, Yu Yang greeted them and returned to his own grimoire world. Although the construction had just started and the project was far from complete, the girls had already used White Cloud floating stones and Demon Abyss obsidian to build a few small houses. They had also moved in a lot of daily necessities. Although it was a little crude, it was not a problem for people to live in it. As for the construction of the houses, Yu Yang did not have the chance to help. It was not that he did not want to help, but it was because his aesthetic view was completely different from the girls. At the same time, the girls condemned him for wasting materials seriously. With the help of the Bloody Queen, the barbarian Cow Shadow, the Golden Crown Thorny Flower Queen, the Reaper Mantis, and other big and small beasts, the girls' construction progress was very fast. Furthermore, the houses that were built were not the boxy and ugly buildings that Yu Yang was good at, but miniature castles. If not for the lack of time, the girls would have wanted to make exquisite carvings on the castles made of white cloud, floating stones, and obsidian, decorating the inside and outside of the houses. They only wanted one result, and that was perfection. The only thing that Yu Yang did to help with the construction was to use his sword Qi to draw heaven runes on the walls. Brother, did the Emperor grant you a marriage? When Yu Yang returned to the grimoire world, Yu Bing was the first to welcome him. She wanted to know if Princess Sisai would also become her sister-in-law. Look, this is the dowry. Yu Yang took out a pearl and introduced it with a beaming smile. White dragon pearl, the Xia Kingdom's national treasure. Now give it to me. Who wants to marry you? Dream on. Princess Sisai's face turned red as she snatched the pearl. Also, this demon's subduing pagoda is said to be able to confine a demon king. This is a treasure that the Jun family's ancestors brought back from the Heaven Realm. No one can use it, so it's mine now. Ha ha ha. Yu Yang was immensely proud of himself. This demon's subduing pagoda had been placed in the Jun family's treasury for thousands of years. No one could use it, so it was almost sealed. Although this thing could only be passed down to the Jun family's descendants. If Yu Yang married Qian, he would be his son-in-law, so he could be considered half a son. It would not be a problem to pass it down to him. Moreover, the demon subduing pagoda could indeed confine a demon king. It was a pity that the Jun family had never produced an innate rancor who could catch a demon king. Other than Yu Yang, this abnormal brat, the demon subduing pagoda was really useless to others. The sparkling and translucent demon suppressing pagoda was placed in front of the girls. Everyone clicked their tongues in admiration when they saw it, especially when Yu Yang placed the white jade beetle and the mysterious pearl left behind by the dark old inspector together. The demon-suppressing pagoda emitted a gentle light that was not dazzling to the eyes. This light was like the moon or the rainbow, unusually soft. Yu Yang noticed that the mysterious pearl emitted a strange fluctuation in front of the demon subduing pagoda's gentle white light. The fluctuation disappeared as soon as it appeared, but he caught it with his sharp senses. This kind of undulation might be fear, or it might be other thoughts. However, Yu Yang was able to confirm in an instant that the dark old inspector was definitely not truly dead. Or perhaps its main consciousness had already disappeared, but the remnants of its battle consciousness were still there. As long as there was enough energy, he believed that it would be able to revive and recover. This was the same logic as when some beast died. Their masters could go to the Tong Tian Tower's summoning hall to revive them. This dark old inspector was probably also waiting for an opportunity to revive. Previously, why were the molten flame core and demon dragon crystal's remnant consciousness afraid of the mysterious pearl? The reason was very simple. This mysterious pearl's dark old inspector was not truly dead. It was an extremely dangerous existence, causing the molten flame core and demon dragon crystal to be afraid. When I have time, I'll slowly refine it. After I refine it, I'll put you on the Huiji magic blade and see if it can level up again. Yu Yang threw the mysterious pearl into the small space inside the demon subduing pagoda. With the demon subduing pagoda in his hands, Yu Yang felt that he might be able to gain a lot from breaking into the Prison Emperor Divine Palace. The Heaven Realm rancors inside the Prison Emperor Divine Palace might also be like the Dark Gold Inspector, not truly dead and leaving behind mysterious items like the mysterious pearl. Now that he had the demon subduing pagoda, he wasn't afraid of being devoured by those items. He could pick them all up and slowly study them. Yu Yang suddenly thought of something. Could the Prison Emperor Divine Palace be an enlarged version of the demon subduing pagoda? It couldn't be a treasure that the powerful Prison Emperor used to seal his enemies, right? Of course, it was useless to think about these things now. Yu Yang decided that before he broke into the Prison Emperor Divine Palace, it would be best if he entered the Puppet Palace to see what treasures the ghost genius Yu Gong had left behind. The more treasures he had, the greater his chances of breaking through the Prison Emperor Divine Palace would be. Chapter 325. Everyone was very curious as to what treasures would be inside the Puppet Palace. However, this was the Yu clan's secret. Shui Wuxia, Princess Sisai, and City Mistress Fallen Flowers suppressed their curiosity and waited for Yu Yang's return in the grimoire world. Yu and Yu Bing also stayed behind voluntarily, especially Yu Bing. Although she really wanted to go, she knew that she would only be a burden if she stayed by her brother's side. Without her, it would be more convenient for her brother to move around. The time that they agreed to enter the Prison Emperor Divine Palace with the old dragon turtle was getting closer. Princess Sisai and City Mistress Fallen Flowers had not become innates yet. Yu Bing didn't want to be a burden to her brother's plan. Yu Yang didn't try to persuade them to stay behind voluntarily. Indeed, exploring alone was much more convenient than bringing Yu Bing and the others. It was just that the journey would be a little boring. Now that he had the grimoire world, Shui Wuxia and the others could come out any time. It was much more convenient than fighting alone in the past. According to the teleportation scroll given by Elder Yu Hai, Yu Yang teleported to the mysterious Puppet Palace. When the teleportation was completed, Yu Yang discovered that he was in a world filled with darkness. He couldn't even see his fingers if he stretched out his hand. If it was someone else, they would definitely be blinded. However, it wasn't a problem for Yu Yong, who had night vision. Yu Yong summoned the quintet seeking golden mice and let them lead the way. Although Yu Yong already knew most of the traps and the puppet palace's route map, he still didn't know much about the secret inner palace. However, Yu Yong still passed the task of finding the way to the quintet seeking golden mice. He also wanted to find out if there were any treasures left behind on the way. The puppet palace was built underground. It was a little like an ancient passage. However, the tunnel here was not man-made. Instead, it was a natural cave that cleverly concealed the palace. Because he had a map of the way forward, Yu Yong successfully walked through the maze-like forks and bypassed all kinds of traps. After walking for close to an hour, he finally arrived at a huge door that sealed the puppet palace. The giant door was made of metal. It was 10 meters tall and 5 meters wide. The door was carved with the head of a monster that looked like a Taotai. This was also one of the protective mechanisms of the puppet palace. If one touched the door without the key, the monster statue would spew out flames, and the door would shoot out poisonous arrows, killing the intruder on the spot. If the invading enemy had puppet beasts, then the magic magnetism of the monster's eyes and the heaven runes lose control, counter-devour, destroy, and so on. The door ornaments would form a rune circle that would make the smart guy suffer. When Yu Yong saw these, he couldn't help but sigh at the ghost genius Yu Gong's design. This fellow was really worthy of being called the one and only ghost genius. He was too awesome. He didn't think that he could even use heaven runes to counter puppet beasts. The ghost genius Yu Gong seemed like he wasn't only proficient in dwarf runes and puppet beasts. From the combination of these heaven runes, the ghost genius Yu Gong was at least a rune master who had mastered heaven runes. Yu Yong knew quite a lot of heaven runes, but he had never thought that Yu Gong could use them in such a way. It could be said that this special combination gave Yu Yong a lot of inspiration, broadening Yu Yang's train of thought. Yu Yong didn't have any other strong points, but he had always been humble to learn from others. The anti-puppet rune circle. Yu Yong had deeply engraved it in his heart. He believed that this rune circle would be very useful in the future. The miraculous anti-puppet rune circle. This reward came from the entrance of the puppet palace. Just the main door alone had already given Yu Yong a huge surprise. Waltz would be waiting for him inside. Yu Yong couldn't wait to go in and take a look. He took out the key rune crystal and gently placed it into the notch on the monster's forehead. The crystal and the notch on the monster's forehead merged together seamlessly, and a light ka sound was heard. Then, it became as if it was made by nature. As Yu Yong transferred a strand of innate chi into the crystal, the entire rune crystal immediately shone. The soft light enveloped the surroundings. The energy flow from the rune crystal then triggered the intricate mechanism in the monster statue's head. The eyes of the mechanical monster suddenly flashed with a faint green light, and the sound of mechanical movement came from the door. It was almost inaudible, but if one listened carefully, they would be able to hear the subtle and concentrated sounds. Yu Yong stretched out his hand and used his innate chi to sense the changes in the door. He realized that if the mechanical monster's head detected a fake key, it would not flash with a green light, but a red light that represented death. It was a kind of violent energy that was similar to a dragon's breath. It was destructive. Once it was shot out, the target that was hit would be in a tragic state. With a real key to open it, the giant door slowly rose up and retracted into the top of the cave without any sound. This giant metal door was 1 meter thick, and there were holes in the middle of it at regular intervals. Those were the positions where the various intricate mechanical axles were connected to the ground. When Yu Yong saw the mechanical axles that were connected to the ground, there was not a single trace of it being sewn together. It was even more high-tech than the high-tech movies that he had seen before he traveled to this world. He couldn't help but praise it. He felt that creating a giant metal door wasn't difficult. The difficult part was its sensitivity. Machines weren't living things. No matter how intricate the instrument was, it couldn't compare to a human's brain, and it couldn't be flexible. This giant metal door, designed by the ghost genius Yu Gong, was still so sensitive and effective after hundreds of years. Yu Yang couldn't help but admire this ghost genius Yu Gong. He estimated that even after hundreds of years, this door would still work as usual. Just from this point alone, it could be seen how powerful the ghost genius Yu Gong was. They entered the puppet palace. After passing through a long passage, they suddenly arrived at a high cliff. The cliff was so high that the bottom could not be seen. The only passage was not at the bottom. Instead, every 100 meters, there was a special floating platform made of magic magnets. This floating platform was called the Sky Bridge. Innate rankers who wanted to enter had to step on the magic magnets' footprints one by one. They had to pass the magic magnets inspection and be confirmed before the door to the inner palace would slowly open. If they forcefully used beasts to fly over, there would be endless traps waiting for them. Yu Yang stepped on the magic magnet's stone surface easily. Every time he stepped on it, the magic magnet's stone surface would flash with light, indicating that he had passed the inspection. The new master of the puppet palace could continue to move forward. After passing the magic magnet's floating stone, there was another metal door that had already opened. Inside, there was a long hallway structure. The light crystal stone had illuminated the passage for hundreds of years. Under this gentle light, 2 rows of mechanical beasts from low-ranked to high-ranked, and from low-ranked to high-ranked, lined up in order. In front were normal-ranked level 1 and normal-ranked level 2 iron skin monsters. Following them were stone puppets, rock giants, bronze-ranked battle wolves, and silver-ranked battle leopards, battle tigers, and battle eagles. There was a dazzling array of mechanical beasts that Yu Yang had seen before. After advancing for 2 kilometers, the number of sea, land, and air-type beasts gradually decreased. The number of humanoid or humanoid puppet beasts increased. At the same time, they were also separated according to their levels, from low to high. Rock puppets, metal puppets, guillotine slaughterers, sawtooth dual-wheeled travelers, iron claw followers, there were all kinds of puppets. There were even some humanoid mechanical puppets that Yu Yang had never seen before. Walking towards the back, there were also separated rooms. There were humanoid mechanical battle puppets that were above gold-ranked scattered in these rooms. Even Yu Yang, who was used to seeing big scenes, felt dizzy looking at them. Gold-ranked level 5 Earth Guards, gold-ranked level 6 Earth Generals, gold-ranked level 7 Earth Marshals, and gold-ranked level 8 Earth War Emperors. Yu Yang almost drooled when he saw them. If it wasn't for the fact that these puppet beasts didn't have a core energy source and couldn't move, Yu Yang really wanted to move a few of them back. Were these the masterpieces of the ghost genius Yu Gong? No. Yu Yang felt that these were just the tip of the iceberg that the ghost genius Yu Gong had shown. It could be seen that these puppet beasts, more or less, had some kind of flaw. Of course, only Yu Yang, who had the heaven-eyes divine vision, could see this. In the eyes of a normal warrior, these puppet beasts were definitely perfect. Yu Yang suddenly had a feeling in his heart. Why was it arranged like this? Could these be the process of the ghost genius Yu Gong's growth? In the beginning, the beasts that he created were still low-leveled. His craftsmanship, design, and composition were also rough. As he created the beasts, the ghost genius Yu Gong's improvement was obvious. Some of the flaws and problems in the beginning disappeared. Whether it was his craftsmanship, design, or composition, they all improved by leaps and bounds. Furthermore, this kind of improvement was divided into several levels. From animal-type puppet beasts to humanoid puppet beasts, there was a huge leap. From humanoid puppet beasts to humanoid puppet beasts, there was another huge leap. From bronze-type puppet beasts to silver-type puppet beasts, there was another huge leap. From bronze-type puppet beasts to silver-type puppet beasts to gold-type puppet beasts. Was Yu Gong's improvement only limited to this? No. Yu Yang walked to the front of the gold-ranked level 8 Earth War Emperor and realized that its user manual was filled with Yu Gong's comments. Almost all of them were flaws. For example, there was a problem with the distribution of the core energy, or the inability to use combat skills, or the inability of the Earth War Emperor to adapt to different kinds of terrains, or the inability to display its full combat power in special areas, etc. Yu Yang was dumbfounded. Being able to create a gold-ranked level 8 humanoid puppet was already very impressive, but the ghost genius Yu Gong was extremely dissatisfied. From this, it could be seen that he was a person who pursued perfection. I thought of a way to solve the problem of adapting to different terrains, and that is to transform. The humanoid puppet could only use the designed combat skills in battle, but this was far from enough. It must also be able to transform and reassemble itself into the shape of a certain animal. It must be able to adapt to battles in the sea, land, air, desert, glacier, volcano, and other special terrains. It needs more precise equipment and a stronger driving force. Perhaps I had made a mistake, but I felt that the idea of using the heaven runes as a driving force was completely feasible. To humans, this was a pioneering act. However, to the life forms in the outer realm, this might have already become outdated, becoming a cliché or a commonplace thing. If I was given another 50 years, no, 10 years, I believe that I would be able to perfect all of this. It's a pity that I don't have the time. The ghost genius Yu Gong recorded his research in the puppet outer palace. The more Yu Yang read, the more shocked he became. He was completely shocked by Yu Gong's crazy idea. The ghost genius Yu Gong wrote at the end, "I am fascinated by the research of puppets. The more I research, the closer I get to the core of the profound meaning of puppets. In the last year, I have decided to research the most important thing. If I succeed, I will be able to leave behind 3 great treasures for the future generations. Outside of closing the outer palace, I hope that the outstanding descendants of the Yu clan who have reached this point can enter the inner palace and receive the results of my research. If I can't complete it and have already died, then please continue to complete my research based on my foundation." 3 great treasures? There were still 3 great treasures in the inner palace? When Yu Yang saw this, his heart couldn't help but be moved. What would these 3 great treasures be? Chapter 326. Entering the inner palace was not as simple as entering the puppet outer palace. It required an innate level authentication. In the past hundreds of years, maybe some Yu clan elders had entered the outer palace, but Yu Yang was sure that no one else had entered the inner palace before him. The 3 great secret treasures had never been seen before. He didn't even know if the ghost genius Yu Gong had completed them. Yu Yang summoned his grimoire and channeled his innate chi into the heaven rune at the entrance of the inner palace. In an instant, a light flashed. The authentication crystal had successfully channeled its energy and activated the device inside. The passage to the inner palace was a magic floating stone that could be moved up and down. When Yu Yang stepped on it, the magic floating stone slowly descended. About 100 meters later, a new palace appeared in front of Yu Yang. All kinds of instruments were placed on the left and right. In the middle, there was a crystal pillar that Yu Yang was familiar with. It was about 10 meters tall and was filled with energy. Heaven runes were engraved on it, faintly emitting a white brilliance. This crystal pillar was very similar to the teleportation crystal pillar that Yu Yang saw in Tongtian Tower. It was also similar to the crystal pillar that sealed the Qilin girl in the Demon Palace. However, it was neither of them. Yu Yang realized that this crystal pillar's energy, teleportation, sealing, and other effects were completely different. It was somewhat similar to a magic crystal's effect. What made Yu Yang feel strange was that a large piece of the crystal pillar was missing, as if someone had used some kind of device to cut it off. Could it be that the ghost genius Yu Gong was going to use this crystal pillar's fragment as the core, driving force for the puppet? Yu Yang, who had fought in the Demon Palace, knew how sturdy this crystal pillar was. Even if it was the Demon King's light pillar attack or the Qilin girl breaking free from the seal, it was not damaged at all. How did the ghost genius Yu Gong cut it off? Besides, puppets didn't need any additional driving force to move at all. As long as the dwarven rune combination was accurate, they didn't need any magic crystals to create low-level rock puppets. Those that needed additional driving force were all precision mechanical war puppets. What kind of precision mechanical war puppets would need to use a crystal pillar fragment as the core driving force? Suddenly, The quintet golden puppet mice went past Yu Yang and rushed towards the crystal pillar. Huh. Yu Yang's summoning grimoire automatically flipped. On the page of the quintet golden puppet mice, a line of words appeared. Found the energy source. Filling the energy reserves. The quintet golden puppet mice moved closer to the crystal pillar that had a big gap, their tails connected to the heaven rune at the base of the crystal pillar. Energy flashed, and streams of energy flowed from their tails to their bodies. At this time, the unremarkable quintet seeking golden mice's bodies became sparkling and translucent, as if they had suddenly turned into crystals. Yu Yang felt that it was inconceivable. Even puppet beasts couldn't level up. How could the quintet golden puppet mice that Yu Yang created be able to level up automatically? Could it be that this chipped crystal pillar was one of the 3 secret treasures? It would probably take some time for the 5 mice to fill up. Yu Yang decided to take a look at the other treasures first. The palace was very tall, the ceiling was domed, and there were rows of pillars that separated different spaces. In every space, there were different beasts. There were humanoid puppet beasts, and even animal-shaped mechanical monsters. Here, there was a type of puppet beast that couldn't be seen. Those were the rock giants that didn't need any extra power. The inner palace was filled with puppets that were made of metal, and there were all kinds of them. Casually walking in front of a silver-ranked level 5 storm warrior, Yu Yang picked up the bottle at its feet and gently poured out a polished crystal ball. The crystal ball was about the size of a ping-pong ball and was filled with energy. There was a heaven rune engraved on it, Wind Eagle. Yu Yang tried to put the Wind Eagle crystal ball into the dent on the storm warrior's forehead. The humanoid puppet's eyes flashed with blue light, as if it had just woken up. The blue light in its eyes scanned Yu Yang's body. Faster than lightning, it pulled out the sword that was originally stuck at its waist and slashed downwards. Yu Yang was alarmed when he saw its eyes glowing just now. In a flash, he flew into the sky and dodged the storm warrior's attack. The storm warrior jumped twice, but it couldn't hit Yu Yang. It immediately started to transform. Yu Yang was dumbfounded. Damn, the ghost genius Yu Yang was really an abnormal person. He could even create the soaring dragon continent's transformers. The storm warrior quickly transformed into a mechanical wind eagle. It spread out its huge wings and soared into the sky. Its claws quickly clawed towards Yu Yang's body. If the person who came in wasn't Yu Yang, but someone else, if they saw this kind of strange phenomenon and received this kind of strange attack, even if they didn't die, they would be heavily injured. Would a silver-ranked level 5 puppet beast be a threat to Yu Yang? Even if it could transform, if Yu Yang wanted to attack, it would only take a second to end the battle. Yu Yang dodged it cleverly. In the instant that he passed by, he reached out his hand and retrieved the small crystal ball that was embedded on the Wind Eagle's forehead. The mechanical Wind Eagle immediately floated down to the ground and quickly transformed back into the Storm Warrior's appearance. The blue light in its eyes disappeared, and it returned to its original calm state. Of course, it wasn't standing at its original position anymore. It was standing at a corner of the Great Hall, more than 10 meters away from its original position. If Yu Yang didn't see it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe that Yu Yang could create such a powerful transformers. The only flaw was that it couldn't be controlled. It didn't differentiate between friend and foe when attacked. It was a headache. If only there was a controller for this thing. After searching for a long time, Yu Yang finally found a wristband with a crystal ball embedded on it on the right side of the Great Hall. This should be the distinguishing device. After Yu Yang put it on, he activated the Storm Warrior. As expected, it didn't attack anymore. Yu Yang used his spirit to guide the Storm Warrior and the wristband device to guide it. The Storm Warrior obediently walked back to its original position. It didn't resist Yu Yang's action of retrieving the crystal ball. Awesome. I didn't think that Yu Yang would really solve the problem of transforming the puppet. Yu Yang admired Yu Yang from the bottom of his heart. He had also made a puppet beast before, so he knew how troublesome it was to make a puppet beast. It was already good enough to make a puppet move. On the other hand, the puppets that Yu Yang made could not only use combat skills, they could also transform and adapt to different terrains and battles. Compared to Yu Yang, who was from another world, Yu Yang was much stronger. Even though Yu Yang had inherited the knowledge from the pitiful guy's mother and studied the puppet encyclopedia that Yu Gong had left behind, when it came to making puppet beasts, he and Yu Gong were simply not on the same level. In the Great Hall, there was a bottle at the feet of every puppet beast. That was their energy core. Silver-ranked level 5 puppets, like the Storm Warrior, were all placed on the forehead. Those that were silver-ranked level 6 and above were all placed in the heart. Their energy core would not be exposed. For those that were gold-ranked level 5 and below, like the Gold Mammoth, their energy core was placed in the head. If one didn't shatter the head, one wouldn't be able to stop it from moving. Furthermore, this kind of puppet beast's head had the strongest defense. For those that were gold-ranked level 5 and above, like the Gold Titan, this kind of giant had 2 energy cores, one in the head and the other in the heart. The strangest thing was that this kind of mechanical titan could still exchange its head and arms even if it lost its body parts. Once it lost its ability to fight, it would automatically repair itself. If there were any spare parts, they would directly pick them up and use them. If there were no spare parts, they would also exchange them. Yu Yang couldn't understand the ghost genius Yu Gong's design. How did he design it to be able to do this? This was practically an AI. As expected of the ghost genius, this fellow was really awesome. He couldn't help but admire him. I don't have much time left. However, I've only made some progress in my research. I really want to live for another 100 years. Even 10 years would be good. It's a pity that my body has already reached its limit. Heaven runes are really useful things. I am like an enlightened child, gaining new insights every day. This feeling is too good. It's a pity that I can't tell anyone about it. I can't share it with anyone. The combination of heaven runes feels like human words, but it's richer and more perfect, just like human poems. No, it's a type of summoning technique. It's actually a very special summoning technique. As long as I learn this summoning technique, countless difficult problems in different fields would be easily solved. My research is only at the beginner level. God gave me a brain that was good at thinking, but he didn't give me a long life. This is all God's will. The real puppet grimoire. Yu Yang discovered Yu Gong's belongings. It was a book that was similar to the puppet grimoire in Yu Yang's littering. When he flipped open this puppet grimoire, he realized that the knowledge inside was too rich. It was dazzling. Compared to this, the puppet grimoire in his littering was like a primary school textbook. Inside this real puppet grimoire, there were no basic things. Everything that was recorded was the crystallization of the ghost genius Yu Gong's blood, sweat, and tears. There were also rune combinations, energy distribution, transformation targets, battle instincts and corresponding battle skills, etc. Yu Yang was excited as he read. With his puppet grimoire, he would never have to worry about not having enough puppet beasts. At the end of this puppet grimoire, Yu Gong's regret was recorded. In my life, I have created countless beasts, but none of them were successful. They all had their own flaws. They were all failures. How I wish I could create a perfect puppet beast. If I was given 10 years, even 3 years, I would be able to take a step closer to this regret. Now, I can only bring this regret with me and sleep forever. If my descendants read this book, I hope that they will inherit my research and continue to create a perfect puppet beast. I hope that, after 1,000 or 10,000 years, there will be an outstanding descendant who will complete my regret. He will bring a puppet beast that can speak, learn, and have emotions. He will bring this puppet beast that is just like a human to my crystal coffin and tell me this good news so that I can smile in the underworld. After Yu Yang finished reading, he muttered to himself for a long time. In the end, he slowly nodded his head. Although I feel that your regret is an impossible task, I will try my best. After keeping the puppet grimoire into his lich ring, Yu Yang found an inconspicuous rune. If one didn't recognize the heaven rune, they would definitely not know its use. However, Yu Yang recognized this heaven rune. It meant secret door. Discovering its existence, Yu Yang's heartbeat quickened. Could it be that there was another secret door here? Yu Yang pressed his hand on the heaven rune and inserted his innate qi into it. The heaven rune shone brightly. At the same time, behind the pillar on the wall, a hole silently appeared. The secret door quietly opened, revealing the innermost secret room. other than the energy source crystal pillar and the real puppet grimoire. The third treasure was in this secret room. When Yu Yang entered the secret room and saw what the third treasure was, he was completely stunned. With a sincerity that he had never shown before, Yu Yang said sincerely, "Senior Yu Gong, I take back what I said just now. I will definitely help you complete your regret. Not just try my best, but I will definitely do it. No matter how long it takes, I will definitely help you complete it." After coming out from the puppet palace, Yu Yang returned to the little flower garden. When he told the girls about the exploration process, he showed them the energy source crystal pillar and the real puppet grimoire. However, he didn't mention the third treasure to them. The girls didn't ask him either. They knew that if they needed to know, he would definitely tell them. Ghost Genius Yu Gong's regret was definitely related to the third treasure. This was Yu Gong's secret. Yu Yang had to help him keep this secret until the day he completed his regret. After exploring the puppet palace, Yu Yang felt that no matter if it was his state of mind or his knowledge, they had all increased greatly. Faintly, he was about to break through the 6th level of innate invisible sword chi. Would he be able to break through in time to break through the prison Emperor Divine Palace? Yu Yang also had this kind of hope in his heart. After all, every time he became stronger before breaking through the prison Emperor Divine Palace, the scales of victory would be tilted towards his side. Chapter 327. The appointed time with the old dragon turtle was approaching day by day. Yu Yang improved every day. However, the more impatient he was, the harder it was for him to break through the 6th level of innate invisible sword chi. Breaking through is not only about increasing his skills, but also about expanding his mental state. This required enlightenment from the heaven and earth. Impatience, who had finished her preparations, also came. She personally helped Yu Yang train for 2 days. In the end, Yu Yang felt that he was only a step away from breaking through, but he was unable to do so. This made him feel very regretful. Breaking through needed an opportunity. It couldn't be done just by training hard. Otherwise, the old fox wouldn't have been stuck at the bottleneck for dozens of years. Being impatient is a warrior's biggest obstacle. Relax. Shui Wuxia consoled Yu Yang, which was rare. Xiao San, even if you don't break through, we can still pass through smoothly. Yu Yu, the second sister, prepared a lot of food to support her brother. She even planted a lot of vegetables and fruit trees in the grimoire world. Under Yu Bing's green light tree demoness green rush skill, the vegetables and fruit trees grew very quickly. Yu Yu's idea was that if her brother really couldn't defeat the enemies, he would bring everyone a hide in the grimoire world. He would heal his wounds and rest well before going out to fight with the enemies. Yu Yu's expectation was that even if they had to live and train in the grimoire world for a few months, or even a few years, they must pass through the prison Emperor Divine Palace without any losses. No one must die in the challenge, not a single one. City Mistress Fallen Flowers, who especially liked to plant flowers, was the most supportive of Yu Yu's preparations. She had also planted a lot of flowers in the grimoire world. If not for the limited time, she would have moved the Sky Garden in the 4th floor of Tong Tian Tower to the grimoire world. If they really couldn't defeat the strong enemies in the prison Emperor Divine Palace, the participants could hide in the grimoire world and recover while fighting. This was a very good idea. Anyway, there were less strong enemies in the prison Emperor Divine Palace. They could just fight with the enemies until they exhausted themselves. Of course, this was the worst-case scenario. If the Qilin girl or the Phoenix sisters were willing to help him when he was trying to break into the prison Emperor Divine Palace, then there wouldn't be any problems. It was just that the Qilin girl hadn't come out since the last time she ran out. He reckoned that she wasn't really interested in charging into the prison Emperor Divine Palace. Yu Yang reckoned that unless his life was in danger, she and the Phoenix sisters wouldn't come out and interfere with his battle. Could this be the Heavenly Sword Goddess's secret instructions? Yu Yang would sometimes speculate like this. For Yu Yang, difficulties might be tough, but it was also an opportunity for him to cultivate and improve. If the Heavenly Sword Goddess was willing to take action, Yu Yang would be able to sweep across the entire soaring dragon continent unrivaled. However, she did not do that. She had also never asked about Yu Yang's usual battles. She had completely let Yu Yang fight on his own. All she did was force Yu Yang to train hard in the dream world. Any flaws or areas that Yu Yang needed to improve will be pointed out by the heavenly sword goddess using her sword Qi, forcing Yu Yang to correct them. Could the heavenly sword goddess come out from the dream world? Yu Yang had never doubted this point. Hence, the reason why the Phoenix sisters didn't care about Yu Yang's battles, other than being kind beasts and not taking the initiative to attack, could also be because of the heavenly sword goddess's instructions. Why would the Phoenix sisters come out from the demon palace and force the 3 great demon kings and the 2 great lich kings to retreat, making them not dare to chase after Yu Yang? Thinking back, Yu Yang was extremely dangerous at that time. If he wasn't careful, he would be instantly killed by the 3 great demon kings. Hence, the Phoenix sisters had to come out. Otherwise, Yu Yang wouldn't be able to leave the demon palace. Even if the Qilin girl and the Impatiens who hadn't recovered their powers were there to help him. The heavenly sword goddess, the Phoenix sisters, and even a naturally slow-witted Qilin girl who was lost didn't ignore him. Instead, they secretly protected him. Usually, no matter how he lived or how he fought, once his life was in danger, they would immediately take action. I won't rush anymore. A hasty person won't be able to eat hot tofu. I need an opportunity to break through. I can't rush this. Yu Yang let go of the huge stone in his heart and didn't insist on breaking through anymore. Instead, he helped Princess Sisai and City Mistress Fallen Flowers to become innates. You train with Sister Fallen Flowers. Princess Sisai pulled Yu Yang to the side and said softly, I have made a promise with Wu Xia to become innates during the battle in the prison Emperor Divine Palace. What? Yu Yang was shocked by their thoughts. Actually, I'm just a little bit away. With you, I won't have any problems becoming innates. On the other hand, Sister Fallen Flowers is still lacking. If you help me to become innates with all your strength, she won't be able to do it in time. Why don't I slow down a little and you help Sister Fallen Flowers to become innates first? I'll work hard these few days. It won't be a problem when the time comes. Princess Qian's fair, jade-like face suddenly turned red. I don't care what that old fellow said to you. You can't mess around with me like you did with Sister Wuan. I haven't agreed yet. You little thief, I can only give you a chance to woo me temporarily. Without my consent, even if you force yourself, don't expect me to spoil you like how Sister Wu Hen dotes on you. In the end, this two-faced tigress even raised her fist, showing that she wasn't someone who could be easily bullied. Yu Yang smiled. He wanted to see how long this tigress could last. Actually, it was a good thing to have a personality. Wouldn't it be more fulfilling to train her slowly? Princess Sisai realized that this fellow's smile was indescribably evil. Panic surged in her heart, and her body became a little weak. She hurriedly left, as if she was escaping. Shui Wuxia, who was quietly reading a book in the corridor, closed her book and disappeared quietly. Shui Wuxia and Yu Yang had a tacit understanding of each other. Even if they didn't speak, they could understand each other's thoughts. Moreover, she, Yu Yang, Inan, and Yu Bing shared the Virgo Temple's reward skill, Heart Mirror. If they were to be extremely focused, they would be able to share each other's thoughts and have a mutual understanding of each other. This Heart Mirror skill would change according to the distance between them and the tacit understanding of each other. The meaning would also be vague and couldn't be arranged into words, but the meaning would definitely be understood. Just like when Shui Wuxia closed her book and left, she expressed in her heart, push her down boldly, hinting to Yu Yang that he must help City Mistress Fallen Flowers reach the innate realm. Even if he had to push her down, he must do it boldly. Although City Mistress Fallen Flowers wasn't an expert in battle skills, her Aurora Light was extremely powerful. Furthermore, it could counter enemies with darkness, undead, and ghosts. She might even be more useful than Princess Sisai in the prison Emperor Divine Palace. Therefore, she wanted Yu Yang to attack boldly and not let go of that Fallen Flowers girl. There wasn't much time left, only 3 days. Although City Mistress Fallen Flowers was improving quickly, If she didn't reach the final step and use the method of dual cultivation as husband and wife, she might not be able to make it in time. Maybe it was because of this reason that Princess Sisai told Yu Yang that she would level up after reaching the prison Emperor Divine Palace, and asked Yu Yang to level up City Mistress Fallen Flowers first. Little friend, do you want me to teach you a few moves? It was unknown when Impatience arrived behind Yu Yang. She moved her cherry lips close to Yu Yang's ears and kissed him lightly. Then, she breathed out a burst of extremely seductive fragrance. Che, who's teaching who? Yu Yang immediately laughed out loud. As a virgin, she wanted to teach him how to push someone down? What a joke. You're not modest at all. Impatience lightly shrugged her shoulders, her snow-white breasts trembling. Then, she twisted her waist and walked away. Yu Yang's eyeballs almost fell to the ground as he watched. If it wasn't for the fact that he was much weaker than her, Yu Yang would have pushed down this mesmerizing Impatience a long time ago. It wasn't that he had never seen G-breasts before, but he had never seen one that was so firm and perfect. Forget about Ji-Zun. Yu Yang hadn't even seen her treasure clearly. How could there be someone like Impatience who could see as she pleased such beautiful breasts? If he could bury his head in them, even if he suffocated to death, he wouldn't have any regrets. Yu Yang secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Forget it, this Feng Xian girl will be pushed down by him sooner or later. There was no need to be anxious. She couldn't run away. After dinner, Shui Wuxia and the others entered the grimoire world early to rest, leaving the shy city mistress Fallen Flowers alone. Of course, she understood everyone's intentions, but she couldn't stop them. Moreover, leaving her and Yu Yang alone was something she had longed for a long time. City mistress Fallen Flowers forcefully suppressed her heart that was beating like a deer and tried her best to maintain a calm expression. I haven't patrolled my own castle for a long time. I order you, the incompetent personal guard captain, to lead the way, otherwise I will deduct your salary. Thinking back to when she first met Yu Yang, City Mistress Fallen Flowers couldn't help but find it funny. Who would have thought that their first meeting would become the fate of the two of them together in the future? Could it be that the Moon Elder really used a red rope to tie the two of them together? Was this fate really destined by the heavens? Yu Yang was extremely quick-witted. He bent down and carried City Mistress Fallen Flowers on his back, just like how he carried her down the mountain in the Sky Pavilion. City Mistress Fallen Flowers twisted her body slightly. At first, she was a little uncomfortable, but she quickly calmed down. She also remembered that when she fainted after losing the battle, he was the one who carried her down the flying mountain, and even found the beautiful demonic flower seed that she had been looking forward to for a long time. Little rascal, did you touch me at that time? City Mistress Fallen Flowers faintly remembered that his hands were not very well behaved at that time. No, I'm a well-mannered child. I'll see and not touch anything. Yu Yang flatly denied. Who are you lying to? City Mistress Fallen Flowers would have believed him at that time, but now she knew that he was a bad person. She made him carry her all the way down a mountain. Would he really be so obedient? You don't even want to touch me? That was impossible. City Mistress Fallen Flowers' face flushed with embarrassment. However, she felt that sooner or later, this brat would take advantage of her. Letting him touch her was not a big deal. She was often taken advantage of by him when she trained, and it had almost become a habit. However, her face was still tender, so she could not spare him verbally. I'm really a good child. I'm definitely qualified to be the personal guard captain. I can even be in charge of warming the bed at night. Yu Yang recommended himself to sell his own advertisement. That naughty hand, however, did not obediently reach up. He moved his hands lightly on Luo Hua City Mistress's plump and perky buttocks, testing her reaction and becoming restless. As a sensitive girl, how could City Mistress Fallen Flowers not know this brat's naughty intentions? She started off by lightly hitting his naughty hand, but in less than 2 seconds, the naughty hand came back again. She really had no other way. In the end, she could only use her little white teeth to bite people. She lightly bit his ear, and hot breath came out. Who asked you to be naughty? Who asked you to pretend to be an obedient child? This city mistress punishes you. Carry me to the Sky Garden. You are not allowed to rest on the way. With a beauty on his back, Yuyang wouldn't be so stupid as to rest. He immediately agreed. Yes, I will definitely listen to city mistress's orders. I will also definitely flatter you. His naughty hand even patted city mistress Fallen Flowers' buttocks twice, causing her to pout even more coquettishly. Yu Yang teleported out from the Sky Garden. He really did carry city mistress Fallen Flowers on his back along the way, rushing straight to Tong Tian Tower. His goal was the Sky Garden on the 4th floor of Tong Tian Tower. Of course, his other goal was to push down this Fallen Flowers girl. Chapter 328. After passing the Shang Wu camp, Zhang Xian teleported to the Tong Tian Tower. Carrying a great beauty on his back, Yu Yang was very proud. On the other hand, the city lord was afraid that someone would recognize him, so he hurriedly struggled free and looked around unnaturally at the passers-by. His usual unrestrained and forthright demeanor was completely different. He looked a little like a lover going on a tryst with his sweetheart. It was only in front of the Tower of Babel that she returned to her usual serious demeanor. Anyway, all the guards recognized her, so she couldn't hide anymore. When an acquaintance greeted her, she even introduced, "This is my personal guard captain." After Yu Yang and her teleported in, a silver-armored guard scratched his head in confusion. Didn't they say that City Mistress Fallen Flowers was engaged to the Yu clan's 3rd young master? Why are you so close to a handsome guy called Titan? The silver-armored captain guarding the gate of Tong Tian Tower immediately gave him a slap on the head. Are you allowed to discuss the matters of the higher-ups? Furthermore, your dog eyes must be blind. That person was the Yu clan's 3rd young master. Did you really think that he was the personal guard captain? Titan is Yu clan's 3rd young master's alias in Tong Tian Tower. If you don't know, then don't talk nonsense. Smelly mouths are the most annoying, understand? This slap caused the silver-armored guard to tremble. He hurriedly smiled apologetically. Boss, I was wrong. Please don't be angry. Is that really 3rd young master Yu? You scared me to death. Tong Tian Tower, 4th floor. This was Yu Yang's first time going to the 4th floor. In fact, City Lord Fallen Flowers had brought him to the 2nd and 3rd floors of Skysplit Tower. Every level required the corresponding procedures. If he didn't have a familiar person like City Lord Fallen Flowers to lead him and strictly follow the rules of a martial artist, Yu Yang estimated that it would take him several days to complete dozens or even hundreds of mercenary missions. The difficulty was not high for him, but it would be annoying to death. The Sky Garden was located on the 4th floor of Skysplit Tower. This Skysplit Tower was very strange. Every floor was 10 times larger than the floor below. After the 3rd floor, the demons of the Demon Abyss and the human warriors of the Soaring Dragon Continent would share the same land. The battle to the death between the two clans also started because of this. Both sides were competing for the precious resources of Skysplit Tower. It had been like this for the last 10,000 years. The only difference was that 10,000 years ago, the humans had the advantage, but now they were at a disadvantage. On the 4th and 5th floor, there were a few warriors from the Qilin continent, White Cloud continent, Desolate Barbarian continent, and other continents. The Soaring Dragon continent called these continents the Outer Realm. On the 6th floor, there would be even more spaces in the Tong Tian Tower. There would also be more Outer Realms. The legendary rankers from the Dragon Island, the Fairy Realm, and the Dwarf continent would all appear. There would even be the Eastern Goblin tribe. Of course, the battles on the 6th floor and above had nothing to do with the countries of the Soaring Dragon continent. That was a place where innates and lesser innates were active. If a level 6 elder in the Soaring Dragon continent went up there, it would be almost the same as the mercenaries in the 1st floor of Tong Tian Tower. It would be extremely difficult for them to survive there. Other than the young elders with potential who would go up there to train, the older elders would normally not go up to the 6th floor. City Lord Fallen Flowers on the 4th floor of Skysplit Tower, there was a Sky Garden. With her strength in the past, it was actually a little difficult for her to occupy it for a long time. Warriors from the Demon Abyss and other continents would covet that kind of treasured land. However, this Sky Garden was the place where the Night Empress lived before. No one who knew about it would dare to have any ideas about this place. For example, some low-leveled warriors who did not have eyes, or the demons from the demon abyss who barged in without knowing the ins and outs of the situation, after being ruthlessly slaughtered by City Lord Fallen Flowers a few times. They were also extremely respectful towards this place. At the same time, City Lord Fallen Flowers' prestige gradually became known. None of the low-leveled warriors dared to have any ideas about the Sky Garden anymore. It was the same for the rankers from the Demon Abyss. Demon Marshals, Demon Kings, and other rankers did not move around in the lower floors. Demon Generals could not defeat City Lord Fallen Flowers. At that time, only rankers who were at the level of Demon Commander could possibly fight against Fallen Flowers. Furthermore, forcefully attacking the Sky Garden would easily incur the wrath of the Night Empress. The rankers from the Demon Abyss would definitely not do such a strenuous and unrewarding thing. The Night Empress was famous for her protectiveness in the entire Tong Tian Tower. City Lord Fallen Flowers was her descendant. It would have been fine if they had fought in other places. However, forcefully attacking the Sky Garden and killing City Lord Fallen Flowers, the Night Empress would definitely not let the matter rest. This was equivalent to Yu Yang running to the Demon Palace to cause trouble. If not for the appearance of the Phoenix Sisters, giving Baruth, Exun, Grun, and the others a huge pressure, they would definitely not let Yu Yang leave. Even if the Impatiens tried her best to protect him, it would not work. This was because charging into the Demon Palace was an act of slapping their faces. As a Demon King, they would definitely not tolerate it. Of course, the Phoenix Sisters were extremely strong. They were worried that he would be killed instantly, but that was another matter altogether. They were almost at the Sky Garden. Yu Yang remembered the seed of the beautiful demonic flower. He smiled and said, "The beautiful demonic flower from last time, has it blossomed? You can't smell it. That's not for a man to smell." City Lord Fallen Flowers hurriedly glared at him, hinting him not to act recklessly. Yu Yang, who had studied the medicine encyclopedia thoroughly, naturally knew what use the beautiful demonic flower had. This was a strange flower used by fox-type beasts to transform into humans. If a man were to smell its fragrance for a long time, he would lose his sexual interest and become impotent if he ate it. If it was made into medicine and consumed by a man, he could even become a transvestite. It was extremely terrifying. 5,000 years ago, the use of this flower was first discovered by a queen. Because she hated her unhappy marriage, she placed a pot of beautiful demonic flower in full bloom on the king's window. The king loved the beauty of this pot of flower deeply. Every day, he would water and weed it. He would smell the blooming flowers deeply to his heart's content. He even used the flower petals to make flower tea. In the end, he was completely tragic. The most tragic one was the king's prince. Because the prince who succeeded the throne was not the queen's son, the queen, who was proficient in medicine, made the flower into medicine and secretly let the prince consume it. In the end, all the princes turned into transvestites, except for the queen's son. This matter went too far. Not long after, it was discovered by a famous doctor. The queen was even killed by the furious king himself. However, even though 5,000 years had passed, this story was still passed down. The beautiful demonic flower's fame was not inferior to the starlight, serene indigo grass. It had always been revered by all men. However, even if all things counteracted each other, there would still be a way. About 3,000 years ago, a miracle doctor called Jingbo discovered another magical effect of the beautiful demonic flower. That was to raise fox-type beasts. In Yu Yang's words, it could be used to raise a fox spirit. Not all fox-type beasts had this effect. Only a small number of spirit foxes or demon foxes, fox-type beasts that had the potential to evolve into human form, would be able to unleash the true effect of the beautiful demonic flower. It was said that spirit foxes or demon foxes that absorbed the beautiful demonic flower's energy would become enchanting beauties once they evolved into human form. Furthermore, their body fragrance had the effect of stimulating men's desires. It could even revive impotence and impotence. For 3,000 years, many kings had hoped to raise this kind of fox spirit beauty. Unfortunately, because the miracle Dr. Jing Bo refused to reveal the secret method to the world, and because there were very few spirit foxes or demon foxes that had the potential to evolve in a human form, no one in this world could successfully raise a fox spirit beauty. City Mistress Fallen Flowers was an exception. This was because her secret cultivation method came from a Night Empress. The Tian Luo royal family was the only royal family that had a secret cultivation method that had never been revealed to the world. To others, the beautiful demonic flower was a scourge, especially to men. It was a terrifying poison. City Mistress Fallen Flowers, who knew its true effect, used it to strengthen the three-tailed snow fox, helping it to evolve into a human form, hoping to become a holy beast as soon as possible. Even though she knew that Yu Yang was proficient in the medicine encyclopedia, she still warned him repeatedly. She did not want the beautiful demonic flower to affect Yu Yang's body in any way. Actually, if one did not smell the flower's fragrance for a long time or eat it, a little bit of the beautiful demonic flower's fragrance would not harm the body. Furthermore, with Yu Yang's abnormal physique, why would he be afraid of the flower's poison? Yu Yang knew that this Fallen Flowers girl was concerned about him. He turned around and pinched her little nose, laughing out loud. "Don't laugh, you're so annoying." City Mistress Fallen Flowers glared at Yu Yang. She thought back to the day when she went to the pavilion in the sky to steal the beautiful demonic flower, but met the demon commander Ma Li Ong, who was one step ahead of her. If it was not for Yu Yang, she would have been at a disadvantage in that battle. After the battle, the scene of him carrying her on his back and escaping in a sorry state was still vivid in her mind. She could not help but laugh out loud. She laughed so hard that her shoulders shook and her flowery branches trembled. Yu Yang saw this beautiful city mistress' straightforward laughter again. He could not help but feel moved. This Fallen Flowers girl's laughter was too charming. He liked her this way. He reached out and picked her up. He bent down and kissed her deeply. City Mistress Fallen Flowers struggled a little. When his fiery lips kissed her, she felt as if she had been electrocuted. Her whole body was soft and powerless. She shyly closed her eyes and let this bad guy take advantage of her. When he pushed her petal-like cherry lips apart and explored further, City Mistress Fallen Flowers felt dizzy, as if she was trapped in a hazy dream world. It was not the first time he kissed her, but the feeling now was especially different. Maybe it was because she had accepted this bad guy in her heart and let go of her previous reservations. That was why she felt especially relaxed and especially wonderful. A pair of jade-like hands unknowingly wrapped around his neck. When he was sucking domineeringly, she also clumsily responded and gently bit his tongue. Then, she quickly understood and without a teacher, stuck out her little pink tongue and tangled with him sweetly. When City Mistress Fallen Flowers woke up from the sweetness, she found that her lips were a little swollen and even a little painful. She raised her fist and lightly punched him. This brat kissed her nonstop and kissed her for too long. Wasn't he afraid that she would suffocate? Yu Yang's naughty hands did not withdraw from her clothes. He only gently caressed her lower abdomen and the back of her waist, making Fallen Flowers feel so comfortable that her little nose lightly hummed. If he rashly reached up to Saintess Peak and rubbed her Snow Hill red plum blossom, she would definitely pull his naughty hands out. But now, his hands were only lightly caressing her lower abdomen and back. It gave her an extremely gentle and comfortable feeling. A feeling of being comforted by him arose spontaneously. She did not refuse him, and she liked his flirtatious way of doing things. She liked this the most, but she did not like him hurriedly tearing off her clothes. She did not like his naughty hands forcefully exploring her most sensitive areas. Because, no matter how much she liked him, she was still a girl and would also feel shy. She was very happy that this bad guy did not rush to possess her. Instead, he gently caressed her, making her feel relaxed and at ease. "Bad guy, let's go. I'm a little sleepy." City Mistress Fallen Flowers was not sleepy, but she wanted to hug Yu Yang and sleep in his arms. As for whether his naughty hands would take advantage of her, She had already acquiesced to it. Chapter 329. The Sky Garden was located in midair. It was part of the Sky Island. The mountain peak was a bit like the Flying Peak, but there was not only one. Several mountain peaks were connected together. The height was different, and the mountain on the Sky Island was also much bigger. The mountain peak was high cliffs. There were dozens of waterfalls of different sizes, hanging down from the mountain walls, shaped like white silk. There was a valley in the mountain. In the valley, the garden was filled with hundreds of flowers, butterflies fluttering. Usually, no one lived here. Every once in a while, the servants of the Night Empress would come down from the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower to clean and tidy up. They maintained this place very well. Everything was the same as when a Night Empress lived in the past. It was just that there were flowers and plants planted by the city master, fallen flowers in the garden. Yu Yang and the city master, fallen flowers, were not in the mood to appreciate these beautiful scenery. The two of them held hands and flew up to the Sky Island like a light breeze, flew over the birdsong and fragrant flower garden, and floated into the house. As soon as they stepped on the ground, the two of them could not wait to hug and kiss each other, asking for more sweet affection from each other. After a long time, their lips parted. City Master Fallen Flowers bashfully hit Yu Yang lightly, indicating that this brat was too impatient, playing tricks on her as soon as he arrived. Her passionate gaze was as intoxicating as a mellow wine. Yu Yang knew that the beauty was moved. Gently, Yu Yang, with gentle movements, gently placed the fallen beauty in his arms on the bed. He did not pounce on her like a pervert, but sat on the edge of the bed, reached out his hands, and gently hugged her, kissing her lightly. As expected, this move greatly removed the wariness and shyness of Fallen Flowers. With this buffer, she no longer resisted his naughty actions. She did not even know when he had quietly laid down on top of her, hugging her, but she was completely unaware. Her entire body and mind were focused on kissing him, their tongues and lips lingering. The sweet kiss made her body soft and limp. Little by little, as her body trembled with nervousness and anticipation, he gently covered her saintest jade peak. She bit his lips, and an extremely seductive moan came from her throat. It seemed to be uncomfortable, but also comfortable. It seemed to be resisting, but also encouraging. It seemed to be uncomfortable, but also happy. When he bent his head down, she weakly pushed him away, panting and refusing his next step. But when he slowly and irresistibly kissed the sensitive bud, she hugged him tightly and excitedly embraced him. His heart had long since forgotten about love, and he did not know what year and month he was in this world. Scoundrel, scoundrel, you big scoundrel. You're not allowed to do that again. I'm so sad. Enough, greedy guy. You can't bite me. It hurts. So embarrassing. You scoundrel. You're too reckless. The beauty's clothes were half undone, and she was panting. That brocade robe was disheveled because of the invasion of his large hands. The rapid breathing, the burning red cheeks, the hot breath, the intoxicated eyes, and the soft body all showed the passion of a beauty. His large hands wandered all over her body, domineeringly occupying one high spot after another, announcing that this virgin land was completely under his name. When his naughty actions made her whole body tremble, her small hands, however, were helplessly sliding on his back, not knowing whether to hug him or let go, allowing his actions to go deeper. It was the first time she had experienced such a flirting from her lover, and she did not know how to react. His kiss, that domineering, plundering, and sucking, made her feel suffocated. Yu Yang, who had practiced on the sickly beauty many times, had definitely reached the level of a grandmaster in terms of flirting. Not to mention that the city lord of Fallen Flowers was still a virgin. Even sickly beauty, who had had sex with him many times, could not resist. I can't breathe. Quickly stop. The city lord of Fallen Flowers felt a kind of heat flow ignite in her body, and her whole body had a strange reaction, as if something was quickly accumulating in her body, and there was a strange feeling that she would not be satisfied until it was released. Especially when his naughty hands rubbed the lump of flesh in front of her chest, There was an inexplicable feeling of emptiness, as if her body was yearning for his heavy pressure. She felt that the more his hands went down, the stronger the strange feeling in her body became. She almost opened her mouth and asked him to quickly do something naughty so that she could free herself from that uncomfortable state. However, when Yu Yang's hands invaded her lower abdomen, the sensitivity of her virgin made her body tremble slightly, and there was a slight spasm in her legs from the base of her thighs all the way to her little toes. Subconsciously, the city lord of fallen flowers tightly clamped her legs, stopping his hot big hands from moving forward. The city lord of fallen flowers looked at Yu Yang and knew that her important moment had come. She resisted the shyness in her heart and kissed him lightly. "Bad guy, you go take a bath first. I'm a little scared. Let me take a break." Yu Yang quickly withdrew his hands and kissed her gently until she shook her head and said that it was okay. Maybe she really needed to take a break. It was not good to be too eager for success. It might leave a psychological shadow on her. Yu Yang decided to leave for a while and let the city lord of fallen flowers solve the knot in her heart first. After all, this was a real union, not the previous kisses and hugs. Besides, would a virgin feel any burden at the moment of giving her chastity? Even if it was the person she loved, she would worry about whether her body would hurt, whether she would get hurt. All of this needed to be overcome by herself. When Yu Yang came back from a bath, he found that the city lord of fallen flowers had redecorated the whole room. The doors and windows were hung with auspicious red silk. Even the silver moon hook in front of the curtain was tied with a red string. The wedding clothes were placed on the bed, and there were a few pots of fresh flowers in front of the table. They were bright red, and the flowers were in full bloom. "It's a pity that there's no wine. Otherwise, I would like to have a cup of nuptial wine with you, although this is not a wedding," the city lord of fallen flowers said with a little regret. In fact, she still had a little longing for the bustling marriage in the secular world. Sickly Beauty, Shui Wuxia, and the others didn't care. Anyway, marriage was more to fulfill the wishes of the elders, to fulfill a certain kind of custom for the bride and groom themselves. It was more of a mess. Princess Sisai, for example, disliked marriage the most because the marriage of the royal family was very troublesome. She had seen it from a young age and found that when all the brothers married their sisters-in-law, or when their sisters married, they couldn't do anything about the etiquette. As for those sisters-in-law who married into the family, they looked very glamorous on the surface, but secretly sighed with her, feeling that there were too many rules. It was too much of a hassle. The ones who had more longing for marriage were the younger Anan and the gentle and virtuous Yu Yu. Anan hoped that she could sit on the big sedan chair, follow Yu Yang on his big horse, happily go home with him, marry into the Yu clan, bow to the heavens and the earth, bow to each other, enter the bridal room, and finally become his bride, his little wife. Yu Yu was purely a traditional woman. She felt that marriage was a major event in life. It had to be grand. The city lord of fallen flowers didn't care much about marriage ceremonies. She thought that her father would drink with his friends during her wedding ceremony, or fight with others if there was a disagreement. She didn't care about the wedding ceremony. The city lord of fallen flowers felt that the most important thing was to complete the ceremony of husband and wife with the person she loved. It was a pity that she didn't prepare in advance. Otherwise, she would like to have a cup of nuptial wine with her husband. "Who said there's no wine? Look, look." Yu Yang took out the wine, cups, and other things from the lich ring. The city lord of fallen flowers was so happy that she kissed him excitedly. Snuggling in her lover's embrace, they drank together, their hearts wishing each other well, vowing to stay together forever. At this moment, the city lord of fallen flowers felt happy like a spring, joy gushing out from the bottom of her heart. She raised her pair of watery eyes, shyly looking at her lover. She found that he was especially heroic today. His handsome face glowed with a special light. It made people's hearts tremble uncontrollably, especially with his eyes that carried electricity. Just looking at him would make people's heart beat faster, like a deer running around. In Yu Yang's eyes, beauty was also in the eye of the lover. The fallen flowers in his arms was a beauty like a dream. That snow jade face was flushed, dyed red, as if she couldn't handle the wine, but also brimming with happiness. Yu Yang lowered his head and kissed her again and again. No matter if it was her smooth and white forehead, her long eyebrows, her delicate nose, her rosy cheeks, or her slightly swollen cherry lips, he couldn't bear to let go of all of them, leaving behind fiery kisses. Finally, he carried the great beauty who couldn't bear to look at him to the side of the bath where the fallen flowers' petals were scattered. He gently took off her brocade robe and undergarments, revealing her perfect snow jade body. Using clear water, he gently washed the delicate and powerless beauty's body, washing away her worries, washing away her fear, washing away her shyness and reservation. The city lord of fallen flowers was trembling slightly, tightly closing her eyes, not daring to look at him. That snow jade body, however, followed his movements, allowing him to do as he pleased. Yu Yang lifted the great beauty who was as pure and flawless as a white lotus in the clear water, using a silk handkerchief to gently wipe away the water droplets, sighing in his heart at the perfection of her snow-white body. This was truly the gathering of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, truly a masterpiece of nature's uncanny workmanship. Such a beauty had reached the perfect state of a bit less is too thin, a bit more is too fat. The rarest golden ratio was everywhere on her body. Yu Yang couldn't help but lower his head, planting his first kiss on this snow jade beauty's delicate skin, announcing that she belonged to him forever, at the same time leaving a new mark in her life. From today onwards, she would change, have a new identity, and become his wife. The city lord of fallen flowers was both proud and shy. She liked to see his infatuated expression, liked his gentle kisses, liked his careful care. Scoundrel, be gentle. When she was put down on the bed by Yu Yang, she knew that her important moment was coming. Even though she was mentally prepared, she was still nervous. Be good, don't be afraid. Yu Yang first used the snow-white blanket, gently covering her body that was trembling from nervousness. Then he slowly crawled in, reaching out his hands to gently embrace her. At the same time, when she felt her fragrant body being filled, it also calmed her wildly beating heart. His hand was as hot as a flame, roaming around her body, igniting the flames of desire everywhere. It made her body, which was a little stiff from nervousness, gradually relax, gradually soften, and gradually heat up. Yu Yang first kissed her cherry lips, lingering for a long time. Then he slowly leaned down and kissed her. He kissed her sensitive earlobes, kissed her ticklish neck, kissed her round shoulders, kissed her shallow collarbone, kissed her snow-white skin, kissed her most beautiful jade peaks, kissed her pink and tender buds. Other than panting heavily, the city lord of fallen flowers could do nothing else. She even lost her ability to think, completely immersed in the pleasure that he brought her. Yu Yang went all the way down, kissing her lower abdomen. When it slid down to that fragrant navel, he naughtily used his tongue to explore downwards, causing the city lord of fallen flowers to shiver all over. Amidst her aroused and shy anticipation, he gently parted her legs. On the left and right sides of her slender thighs, he left a string of hot kisses. Every kiss caused her body to tremble, until he naughtily kissed her most sensitive and beautiful petals, where the flower dew had long been overflowing. As soon as he kissed it, the city lord of fallen flowers' 10 fingers immediately tightly ran through his black hair, as if she was resisting, but also as if she was trying to persuade him to stay. Her previously accumulated overflowing pleasure, along with an uncontrollable scream, burst out to its fullest. This kind of orgasm was unfamiliar, but also wonderful beyond her imagination. She had never thought that her lover's naughtiness would bring such a huge and comfortable pleasure. It was really indescribable. At this moment, her mind became blank, and she no longer knew how to think about anything. Her soul seemed to fly out of her body along with the big explosion, rushing straight to the 9th heaven, floating in the air, not knowing whether the world still existed or not. Even when the tide receded, when the remnants of the pleasure disappeared, she sensitively discovered that his little trick was making her quickly glow with a second pleasurable orgasm. At the moment when it had not completely subsided, another new orgasm was formed. Once again, it hit the almost returned soul even higher, even further. This bad guy was too bad. He was simply killing people. She would definitely die. After the second orgasm, the city lord of fallen flowers recovered a little bit of her rationality and hurriedly tried to pull her beloved bad guy up. She did not dare to let him continue to be naughty like this. Otherwise, she would definitely die. She would be suffocated with happiness. Regardless of his mouth full of her nectar, the city lord of fallen flowers kissed him excitedly, giving him her sweet little tongue to express the joy in her heart, and gave him this satisfied reward. All kinds of rune patterns unknowingly appeared on their bodies. The more intimate the two were, the more happy they were, the richer the combination of the runes, and the more mysterious it was. Yu Yang's innate chi penetrated from his mouth into the city lord of fallen flowers' cherry lips, and flowed through her whole body, at the same time carrying out the body fusion dual cultivation. The city lord of fallen flowers was completely unaware and only cared about the endless entanglement with him. But she did not know that the meridians in her body were further connected, and the woman's secret private parts that Yu Yang could not touch were no longer an obstacle to her cultivation. Now, she was about to become his little wife, and her body and mind were completely open. No matter what he did for her, he did not have to worry. The city lord of fallen flowers almost didn't feel the slight pain of the meridians in her body being connected, but the pleasure from the stimulation of the innate chi and the lust caused by his naughty hands made her feel quite sad. There was a desire in her heart, a natural instinct, an instinct that all life longed to find the other half after maturing. Yu Yang knew the desire in the beauty's heart, and in fact, he also longed for her. The union of the two people officially began at this moment. The high-spirited, scorching, and huge dragon spear was raised high in anger. When the knight blew the horn to charge, the target was pointed straight at the mysterious gate of the castle. The knight began to ride forward, and in this world, there was no power that could stop it. The gate of life, which was as fragile as a flower, finally welcomed its new master in the cries of a virgin. The falling red was a testimony to the conquest and possession of the new master. Although Yu Yang's movements were very gentle, the city lord of fallen flowers still felt that it was difficult to bear, because his naughty thing was too big and her tender and delicate place was too small. When he forcibly broke through the barrier of protecting her chastity, she could not bear it no matter what. She could not help but cry out in pain, and two crystal-clear tears oozed out and slid down her cheeks. Her lips had no choice but to seek his comfort, and kissed him tightly. Although the pain was unbearable, she knew that she had to go through this once. It was because she had to bid farewell to the young girl, bid farewell to her virginity, that she could truly be together with him, that she could truly become an inseparable pair in his life, that she could become his wife. Naughty thing, it hurts. She cried to him weakly, acting coquettishly. She completely had the right to do so, because she had completely dedicated her most precious everything to her lover. She belonged to him, no matter if it was her body or soul, past, present, or future. Don't cry, be good, don't cry. Yu Yang gently kissed away her tears, trying his best to soothe the pain of bidding farewell to her virginity. After the completion of a union ceremony, when the innate chi had completely linked up all the meridians in the city lord of fallen flowers' body and flowed back into Yu Yang's body, the city lord of fallen flowers' summoning grimoire suddenly appeared. A ray of light shone on its master's body, instantly stimulating the potential of its master's body. The accumulated energy suddenly exploded, and under the strong support of Yu Yang's innate chi, it continued to increase, rapidly advancing towards the innate realm. With a boom, the summoning grimoire's golden pillar of light shot up to the sky, reaching a height of more than 10 meters. City Lord of Fallen Flowers' innate realm had finally reached great completion with the help of body fusion. Her guardian beast, Aurora, had leveled up. The three-tailed snow fox was also bathing in the golden pillar of light, continuously absorbing the energy. Gradually, its body changed. It became humanoid and quickly approached the realm of a holy beast. Chapter 330. Despair Abyss. When Yu Yang stood in front of the old dragon turtle again, the person beside him was no longer Yu Bing and Inan, but Impatience. This old dragon turtle obviously knew Impatience. Impatience also knew him, but she didn't greet him, as if she didn't see his existence. Yu Yang felt that Impatience and the old dragon turtle might have some old grudges between them. They might have fought at the higher levels of Tong Tian Tower. In any case, they were definitely not friends. The old dragon turtle asked cautiously with an incomparably old voice, "Young man, have you really decided to challenge the prison Emperor Divine Palace?" Yu Yang rolled his eyes when he heard this. Why did he come to this damned place instead of challenging the prison Emperor Divine Palace? Could it be that he was really too bored? Of course, he could also hear that even if Impatience came to help him, the old dragon turtle still felt that he was not strong enough and advised him not to act rashly. It would be best if he gave up on the idea of retreating. From this, it seemed that just one Impatience was not enough. However, the more it was so, the more interested Yu Yang was in the prison Emperor Divine Palace. Challenge. Yu Yang was least afraid of challenges. If he really couldn't defeat a strong enemy, he could just hide in the grimoire world like Yu said and fight while recovering. If his life was in danger, the Phoenix Sisters and Chilling Girl would definitely help him. After this battle, he should be able to break through the 6th level of innate invisible sword chi. How could he miss such a challenge and opportunity? A black light flashed. The old dragon turtle was bathed in the black light as his body gradually changed shape. After spending a long time, he finally became an old man carrying a big turtle shell on his back. However, he didn't look like a Rashi hermit at all. He didn't have the spirit of a dragon horse. Instead, he looked like a dying old man with a weak body. The old man that the old dragon turtle had turned into had gray hair and beard. There were old age spots all over his face. His body was also emitting a strange and thick aura of death. "Let's go." The old dragon turtle supported himself with a dragon-headed walking stick and slowly led the way with trembling steps. "You're not preparing to fight with us, are you?" Yu Yang was sweating profusely. If this old fellow wanted to charge through the trial with him, wouldn't that be the biggest burden? "I will do my best. I hope I can send you all through the first hall. As for the other 2 halls, you will have to rely on your own efforts." The old dragon turtle muttered to himself. Although he was heavily injured, he seemed to still have some confidence in himself. In front of Mountain Rock, the old dragon turtle drew a mysterious rune circle with its withered hands. At the same time, he used his spiritual energy to maintain the operation of the runic circle for a long time. The runic circle flashed with a dazzling light, and a strange portal appeared in front of Yu Yang. There was a runic array seal on the surface of the portal, so it was impossible to open it. However, one could enter from the outside. The old dragon turtle's aged body slowly squeezed into the teleportation gate, step by step, and finally disappeared. Yu Yang and the Impatience followed closely behind. After the teleportation light dimmed, Yu Yang realized that he had arrived at a dark world. There was no light source, and it was dead silent everywhere. With his night vision, he could see a few pillars in the distance. The pillars were so huge that it was hard to imagine, and each pillar had a radius of more than 100 meters. Other than Tong Tian Tower, Yu Yang had never seen a pillar that was bigger than this. Furthermore, these pillars were perfectly round, and the top and bottom were the same. It was obvious that they were man-made and not naturally formed. In the sky, supported by the 4 pillars, there was a huge island. It looked like a sky island, but Yu Yang realized that it was at least 10 times bigger than City Mistress Fallen Flowers' Sky Garden. On top of a small mountain, there was a path that looked like a stairway to heaven. The path was winding like a snake, and it reached the island in the sky. That was the only path that they could walk on. This was originally the prison emperor's imperial palace. There were a total of 3 floors, and it was 1,000 meters tall. In order to seal the Heaven Realm warriors, the prison emperor turned the world's most majestic and beautiful palace into a graveyard for his enemies. The old dragon turtle sighed proudly. In the end, he also felt a little sad, as if returning to this place had brought back countless memories. The enemies are waiting up there? Yu Yang didn't have time to lament about this. He wanted to pay more attention to the enemy's movements. The number of broken rune steels outside indicates how many enemies have broken free from the seal. Even if the old dragon turtle didn't say it, Yu Yang could guess it. Luckily, there weren't many broken rune steels. He estimated that there were only around 20 of them. As long as he wasn't surrounded by more than 20 awakened Heaven Realm warriors, he still had a chance to break free from the seal. Yu Yang guessed that the two strongest Heaven Realm great leaders might have broken free from the seal, but they were restricted by the Prison Emperor Divine Staff and the Prison Emperor Divine Seal. They couldn't move freely and were trapped on the 3rd floor. This battle is going to be very bad. Impatience nodded her head solemnly. I have a bad premonition. At least half of the Heaven Realm warriors' souls have awakened, which is different from the number of broken rune steels. Haha, there's a reason for this. In order to hide it from the outside world, we purposely maintain the seal. Look at what kind of guest we have. An old ghost and 2 young girls. A voice came down from the island in the sky. Following that, 3 figures that were shining with golden light flew down and landed lightly in front of Yu Yang, Impatience, and the old dragon turtle. The leader was a birdman with wings. His golden hair was like a lion's, and he wore a royal ornament on his head. He looked majestic, and he wore a silver armor. On his golden belt, there was a diamond-studded sword. The other 2 were different. One looked like a human, but he had horns on his head and wings like a bat. When he opened his mouth, sharp teeth could be seen, making people shiver. The other did not have horns on his head, but his neck was covered with a beetle-like armor. Both of his arms were like a bear or a leopard, and his claws were like hooks. On his face and body, there were compound eyes that looked like golden leopard stripes. Furthermore, behind his butt, there was a long tail that kept swaying. Yu Yang was surprised. Didn't they say that they had already sealed these fellows for 6,000 years? Even if they didn't die of old age, they would have starved to death. There was no life here and nothing to eat. How did these fellows survive for 6,000 years? When Impatience saw them, her expression immediately changed. Her eyes shot out a look of disdain, as if she had seen the most shameless fellows in the world. Her evaluation of them was also very impressive. She directly said, "You are worse than beasts." The old dragon turtle's walking stick trembled, showing a strange reaction. It seemed to be angry, but also sad. What's going on? How can these fellows be living beings? Aren't they ghosts? Yu Yang felt that it was a little tricky. He had prepared a lot of things based on the assumption that the enemies were undead or ghosts. But now it seemed like it was useless. Not only were the enemies not ghosts, they were living monsters. They weren't even zombies that had been sleeping for thousands of years. Little brother, do you think I look like a ghost? Which part of my body looked like a ghost? In the sky, another 3 enemies appeared. These 3 enemies were all female. They were completely naked and had different appearances. The one on the left had horse hooves, goat horns, and lion tails. The one in the middle had scaled arms, bird wings, and cat claws. The one on the right had insect horns, rabbit ears, and snake belly. It wasn't that Yu Yang hadn't seen monsters before, but he really hadn't seen monsters with such strange appearances. At first glance, he couldn't help but be shocked when he saw the 3 enemies that looked like monsters and humans. What kind of Frankenstein made this kind of hybrid? Impatience seemed to know the reason. She slightly raised her eyebrows and sneered. Trash. Hearing her words, the 3 enemies that looked like women stood up like cats stepping on their tails. They all screamed angrily. I hate this kind of damned bitch the most. Bitch, I'm going to tear you apart. Trash. No matter how good you look, you're still trash that people ride on and squish. Let's eat this bitch and divide her flesh. Amidst the curses, the female monster finally suggested. Towards the enemy's curses, Impatience didn't care at all. She only spat disdainfully. Trash, you're not even worthy of my attack. Looking at your lowly flesh is also my gift to you. The three monsters that looked like women completely went crazy and pounced towards them. Without waiting for impatience to make a move, Yu Yang decided to personally make a move and show off in front of the beauty. Of course, this was also a battle tactic. It had been decided long before they came in. Impatience must conserve her strength as much as possible. This was because she wanted to save it for the final battle. Only when she fought against the two great leaders of Heaven Realm would she go all out. The two great leaders of Heaven Realm would definitely send these little soldiers to test the waters. To them who had been sealed for 6,000 years, they definitely understood this point. If someone came to challenge them, that person would definitely be very strong. Furthermore, they were sealed by the prison emperor's divine weapon, so they might not be able to leave the top 3 floors smoothly. If they could move freely, they would most likely lie in ambush at the entrance and heavily injure the enemies. Since they didn't do so, it meant that they were testing the challengers. Secondly, they might not have obtained true freedom. Yu Yang waved his crescent moon blade and released a burst of cold air. No matter what the reason was for these women to be like this, Yu Yang would not have any protective feelings for the fairer sex, nor would he be merciful to them. Towards his enemies, Yu Yang's mercy was basically zero. The 3 female monsters didn't seem to be afraid of the cold as they retreated slightly. Then, they immediately counterattacked. They even flirted with Yu Yang. Little brother, your meager abilities are not enough. Don't act like a hothead and attack recklessly. Why don't you join us? This sister will make you feel comfortable. I guarantee that we'll be much better than that bitch beside you. Among them, the female monster with insect horns, rabbit ears, and snake belly shamelessly opened her legs and shot a stinky water arrow towards Yu Yang. The 3 monster guys who were glaring at the old dragon turtle in midair now had an expression that said that this brat was definitely going to die. Yu Yang and Impatience had both concealed their true abilities. Their true abilities were below innate. Unless the 2 great leaders of Heaven Realm who were stronger than Impatience could see through them, normal Heaven Realm warriors would not know that Impatience was actually a terrifying innate level 10 ranker. Of course, it was even more impossible for them to know that Yu Yang, who had the counterfeit inherent skill, was a terrifying enemy that was not inferior to Impatience. With the counterfeit inherent skill, even the 2 great leaders of Heaven Realm might not be able to see through Yu Yang's true abilities. The 3 monster guys and 3 monster girls had mistakenly thought that Yu Yang and Impatience were lesser innates, and that the old dragon turtle they were familiar with was the real strong enemy. When the 3 monster girls surrounded Yu Yang, the 3 monster guys thought that they were strong enough to kill Yu Yang, the young human. Especially when Yu Yang used the crescent moon blade to conceal his first slash, the enemy became even more confident. No wonder the female monster with insect horns, rabbit ears, and snake belly would arrogantly pee at Yu Yang. They felt that Yu Yang was already in their pocket. That stinky water arrow suddenly dispersed like a spider's web, trapping Yu Yang in the middle. Yu Yang didn't know what kind of skill it was, but it was indeed very strange. Unfortunately, her opponent was Yu Yang. First slash, earth-splitting slash. The purple flames on Yu Yang's body soared to the sky as he brandished his Hui Jin magic blade. Under the activation of his Yang ability, the purple flames burned the stinky water into nothingness. The purple flames on the Hui Jin magic blade that looked like a real dragon shot out furiously as if it had a life of its own, attacking the female monster with a speed 10 times faster than before. That female monster let out a blood-curdling scream as her lower body was burnt into ashes. 2 parts of her legs that were burnt off fell to the ground, while her upper body escaped in fear. In the sky, what was waiting for her was the tip of Yu Yang's earth-splitting slash. 1 slash in half. Instant kill. Chapter 331. When Yu Yang instantly killed the female monster with insect horns, rabbit ears, and snake belly, all the enemies were dumbfounded. Especially the three monster guys who saw the old dragon turtle as their greatest fighting power. They were even more dumbfounded. They all knew how powerful their companion was, but they never thought that he would be instantly killed by a young human on the spot. Could it be that this brat has a godly weapon? The three monster guys couldn't save him in time. Yu Yang flew up again and pounced in front of the remaining two female monsters. The female monster with horseshoes, goat horns, and lion tail immediately ran away. As for the female monster with scaled arms, bird wings, and cat claws who was closest to Yu Yang, she felt that she was locked on by the enemy's aura. She couldn't escape in time and became even more ferocious. She fiercely waved her sharp claws, and with a sharp claw aura and a nauseating fishy smell, she clawed at Yu Yang's face. Her cat claws were black with a tinge of green. It seemed to be filled with poison. Once it was activated, it immediately produced a fishy smell with a tinge of black and green. However, what was more powerful was her sharp cat claws. Her claws swept down from above. Yu Yang's afterimage disappeared. That claw aura was actually able to penetrate through the air and left a few deep marks on the hard rocks on the ground. I'll send you to hell. Yu Yang flashed behind the cat-clawed female monster. The new moon blade's crescent moon cut through the cat-clawed female monster's neck as easily as cutting through tofu. The cat-clawed female monster twisted her body and counterattacked, causing the head to fall in the opposite direction. A stream of blood spurted out from the headless neck. Seeing her companions getting killed one after another, the remaining lion-tailed female monster was scared out of her wits. She quickly ran towards her three monster guy companions, hoping to get their protection. Those three companions also quickly swooped down to save her. In their eyes, a blade aura was like a raging sea, covering the sky and covering the earth. They were almost able to touch their companions, almost able to successfully save them, but the blade aura cut through the air and engulfed her. When the blade aura completely disappeared, the three monster guys realized that their companions had become countless pieces of meat. Roar, kill you. The monster man's eyes turned bloodshot when he saw this. He roared madly at Yu Yang, intending to pounce on Yu Yang and tear him apart. The other winged, bat-like, vampire-like monster held him tightly. Now, he could clearly see that this human boy with a murderous aura was not someone to be trifled with. If he wanted to make a move, he had to be confident. Acting rashly would only make things worse. The leader of the group, who had blonde hair like a lion, wings on his back, and a sword hanging from his waist, kept staring at Yu Yang. He looked him in the face. He slowly observed Yu Yang's slaughtering hands. At the same time, he carefully observed the crescent blade and Hui Jin magic blade in his hands. With regards to Yu Yang's actions of instantly killing the three female monsters, not to mention the enemies, even the old dragon turtle was a little surprised. Having strength was one thing, but whether or not he could kill his opponents was another. Without unlocking his innate seal, this brat could actually kill his opponents easily, and three of them at once. This was not just a matter of strength. There was also killing intent. The old dragon turtle didn't know how many rankers Yu Yang had killed to have such strong confidence and such a cold killing intent. Immediately, the old dragon turtle's opinion of Yu Yang rose a little. In his heart, even if the prison emperor was 20 years old, he wouldn't be able to do better than this brat at that time. The prison emperor was not an ordinary genius warrior. In the old dragon turtle's heart, he was still the #1 genius even after 6,000 years. Other than him, who else could fight against the three great leaders of the Heaven Realm and seal two of them? Hence, in the old dragon turtle's heart, other than the prison emperor, there was no one else. With regards to Yu Yang's high efficiency and cold heart, the old dragon turtle praised him in his heart. If this brat didn't die today, he might be able to chase after the prison emperor's footsteps in the future. This was because he was the same as the prison emperor. They both had the heart of a true warrior. A true warrior would constantly strive to become stronger, look down on all enemies, and look down on all living beings. Don't think that you can be arrogant in front of me just because you killed a few hybridized, mutated beasts. Brat, you are still too inexperienced. That golden-haired monster man stared at Yu Yang and laughed coldly. What is going on here? Isn't this a tune? Yu Yang asked the impatience in astonishment. He couldn't understand why there were mutated beasts here. The true Heaven Realm rankers must have all died. Only their souls were left. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been sealed in the Prison Emperor Divine Palace. The Prison Emperor used his life as the price to destroy all life in the Prison Emperor Divine Palace. No matter if it was himself or his enemies, as long as they were in the Prison Emperor Divine Palace, they would definitely not be able to survive. The old dragon turtle coughed slightly. The flesh and blood mutated beasts you see in front of you should be monsters that were hybridized by them using a secret method. Then, they used parasitism or occupation to transfer into the body of the hybridized beasts. That's why you can see living mutated beasts here and not ghosts. So, it's just a bunch of bastards. When Yu Yang said this, the three monster men were so angry that their eyes turned red. They're not true Heaven Realm rankers. I'm afraid that they are the descendants of the Heaven Realm rankers who had parasitized beasts and then mated with beasts. Otherwise, their strength wouldn't have dropped to the innate level, and it's even more impossible for this old man to not recognize them. The old dragon turtle coughed loudly as he spoke. Yang also felt that these fellows were a little too weak. No matter how weak a true Heaven Realm ranker was, they wouldn't be instantly killed by him, right? Parasitizing and occupying a beast's body, using its body to reincarnate. This kind of despicable and shameless action would not only weaken the person's original strength, they would also be cursed by the laws of the world. There were people from the Thousand Goblins sect and the Demonic Palace who had done this kind of test before. They discovered that the rate of failure and death was very high. There are also many cases of losing their memories and being brainwashed into beasts. Even if they were originally Heaven Realm rankers, I'm afraid that they had already forgotten their past. Now that they have become this kind of half-human, half-beast hybrid creature, they seem to be living quite comfortably. What do I see? Haha, they look like some maggots happily twisting their fat and dirty bodies in a pile of dung. The impatiens was very disgusted with this kind of parasitizing and occupying a beast's body. In reality, this kind of behavior was very vile. It had been a taboo since ancient times. Once the owner parasitized or occupied their own beast body, they would immediately be cursed by the laws of the world. Other than curses such as death from failure, memory loss, brainwashing, transformation into a beast, loss of strength, and so on, there were also curses related to contracts. No matter what kind of beast they possessed or parasitized, they would never be able to contract or summon that type of beast ever again. Even if it was the guardian beast of the grimoire contractor, it was no exception. Suddenly, an extremely strong pressure came from the sky. It was as heavy as a mountain. Even Yu Yang felt a kind of suffocating pressure. To be able to pressure him from so far away. Could it be that this guy was one of the two great leaders of the Heaven Realm? Yu Yang's heart trembled slightly, thinking that the great leaders of the Heaven Realm were indeed not simple. A ray of light streaked across the dark sky like a meteor shooting down from the sky. Before the person arrived, his aura had already rushed towards them like a hurricane. The shockwave sent the three monster guys who were close to innate rankers flying more than 10 meters away. Other than Yu Yang and the impatiens who were able to stand proudly without moving, even the old and weak old dragon turtle's body was swaying slightly, as if he was about to fall to the ground. That shooting star was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived in front of the old dragon turtle. However, it stopped in the blink of an eye. The shock wave it brought with it spread outwards, causing the entire ground to tremble. However, the movement of the person who came was as gentle as a swallow. He withdrew his body and slowly descended in front of the old dragon turtle. 2 meters above the ground, he stood in the air and looked down at the old dragon turtle. This was an extremely handsome man. His appearance was extremely similar to the Birdman leader that Yu Yang had killed in the Sky Shrine. He was also wearing a green hat made of laurel leaves. The only difference was that this birdman's wings were golden in color. The golden light shone resplendently. Faintly, there was a kind of invisible pressure that made people feel inferior in front of this divine being. Even those with weak willpower had the urge to kneel down and worship him. Of course, this kind of pressure was just child's play to Yu Yang. Other than feeling that this guy was acting cool, he didn't feel inferior at all. A guy from another world couldn't even be compared to a birdman. What a joke. Yuan Long, my dear old friend, it's been a long time. Please forgive my children for not being sensible. It can't be helped, because there weren't any guests for a long time. My children were a little impatient. Actually, I should introduce him to you. This is Ngu. He is also an old friend of ours. It's just that his memory has a little problem. The birdman courteously greeted the old dragon turtle with an innate rancorous greeting. He then pointed at the monster leader and introduced him as an old friend with a gentle smile. In the end, he even smiled and swept a glance at Yu Yang in impatience. His gaze paused the longest when he looked at Impatience's face. A kind of greedy desire clearly flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly concealed under that fake smile. You actually didn't die. Seeing the person who came, the old dragon turtle was shocked. This guy isn't a hybrid mutated beast. Why is he still alive? Yu Yang was also a little surprised. Little friend, if you knew that the heaven realm has a gem called the Resurrection Sky Crystal, you wouldn't be so surprised. I admit that the Prison Emperor's spatial destruction was very terrifying, but I didn't die immediately. My broken body escaped back to the grimoire space. After a long period of recuperation, with the Resurrection Sky Crystal's energy, my injuries were completely healed. Furthermore, even grew a little. Unfortunately, the Prison Emperor's divine equipment seal is still there. The spatial destruction's will and energy will still harm my body. I'm very sorry, Yuan Long. Although I am welcoming an old friend, I can't be exposed to the Prison Emperor Divine Palace for a long time. Furthermore, I don't like this damned place. In order to express my welcome, let me give you a little gift first. The birdman's body emitted a dazzling light like the sun. His grimoire flashed, and a few doppelgangers that looked exactly like him were summoned. All the doppelgangers moved as one, slashing their swords towards Yu Yang, Impatience, and the old dragon turtle. Chapter 332. Yu Yang and Impatience chose to dodge. They teleported 30 meters away to avoid the attack. The old dragon turtle leaned on his staff and muttered to himself. A ball of black light appeared on his body. The black light spread out quickly and turned into a huge turtle-shaped light shield. A mysterious rune appeared on top of the light shield. Yu Yang recognized that it was the Heaven Rune's defense. He reckoned that the old dragon turtle was preparing to block the attack from the doppelgangers. A few doppelgangers raised their energy swords and slashed down with the force of a thunderbolt, colliding with the turtle-shaped light shield. Boom! A loud sound was heard. Heaven and earth trembled. Most of the swords that were deflected by the turtle-shaped light shield flew back into the sky. A few of them pierced through the ground. Wherever the swords passed, rocks were smashed and soil turned into ashes. However, the old dragon turtle's turtle-shaped light shield didn't move at all. Even under the attack that shook heaven and earth, the old dragon turtle's withered body was still safe and sound. Yu Yang praised in his heart. This old fellow was indeed an old turtle that had lived for 6,000 years. His defense was really strong. Yu Yang felt that this turtle-shaped light shield was comparable to his gold grimoire shield. This was the energy shield that the old dragon turtle summoned after he was heavily injured. If he was at his peak, the energy shield that this old fellow summoned would probably be unbreakable to ordinary innates, other than rancors like Impatience. Yuan Long, your tortoiseshell is still as hard as before. I thought that you wouldn't be able to withstand my attack, even with your age. I was a little disappointed. I didn't expect that my old friend is still my old friend. Although you are about to die, your tortoiseshell is still very hard. Ha! The beautiful birdman looked at Impatience again, then glanced at Yu Yang indifferently. Little friend, you run pretty fast. We have plenty of time. I will play with you again when you reach the first palace hall. Let me go entertain you guys now. My time is up. I'm sorry, I need to rest. The golden light on the beautiful birdman's body gradually dimmed. The weakest part of the golden light shield, his ankles, started to emit faint black smoke. Looks like the prison emperor's sealing intent and destructive energy were still working. Yu Yang was prepared to intercept and kill this arrogant fellow on the spot. But impatience signaled with her eyes, indicating that they should let this fellow go back to report. That way, they could confuse more Heaven Realm rankers. If they killed them on the spot, then all the enemies that could move would surround them. Since the Prison Emperor Divine Palace had changed, and they didn't know the details, they should not reveal their true strength. The old Dragon King also coughed slightly. He did not say anything, but his expression showed that he agreed with Phoenix Fairy Beauty's plan. 6,000 years had passed. The Prison Emperor Divine Palace had undergone a change that even he did not expect. He did not know if the Prison Emperor Divine Staff and Divine Seal could still be used as a seal. If the two had already lost their effectiveness, the two great leaders of the Heaven Realm would be able to move freely. This would make the trial 10 times more dangerous. Although he didn't see impatience as his comrade, it was still necessary for him to hide his true strength. Even he himself didn't use all of his remaining strength after being heavily injured. The beautiful birdman courteously bowed to the old dragon turtle, then turned into a golden light and flew back, disappearing into the island above. At the same time, more than 10 silver stars fell to the ground. Without exception, they were all mutated beastmen. In Yu Yang's Heaven Eyes divine vision, none of these mutated beastmen were Heaven Realm rankers who were hiding their strength. The strongest was the golden-haired monster leader Ngu. Other than the Monster Man leader Ngu, who was innate level 1, the rest were all innates. The weakest female monster only had the strength of a level 6 elder. Facing a group of mutated beastmen that were only level 7 overlord, Yu Yang wasn't interested in fighting. Impatience also shook her head slightly. She was too lazy to fight. Old Dragon Turtle, you can slowly fight by yourself. Let's go to the first palace hall to take a look. Yu Yang originally wanted to let City Mistress Fallen Flowers or Princess Sisai come out to train, but the changes in the Prison Emperor Divine Palace made him a little impatient to find out the truth. Were the two great leaders of Heaven Realm still alive? Had they broken free from the seal? Were the Prison Emperor Divine Staff and Divine Seal still effective? The most important thing was whether the Prison Emperor Divine Palace still had the ability to seal their enemies. 6,000 years had passed. It was hard to guarantee that their enemies wouldn't think of a way. According to the old Dragon Turtle, this was the sealed graveyard. Unless they obtained the Prison Emperor Divine Staff or Divine Seal and broke the seal, the two great leaders of Heaven Realm wouldn't be able to regain their freedom. According to the original plan, as long as they got rid of those Heaven Realm rankers who had broken free from the seal, it was still possible to get the Prison Emperor Divine Staff. However, the current situation was beyond the old Dragon Turtle's expectations. If the Prison Emperor Divine Staff and Divine Seal lost their effect, the two great leaders of Heaven Realm would be able to move freely. Then the difficulty of this mission would increase by more than 10 times. Impatience whispered a few words into Yu Yang's ears. Soon after, she turned into a shining arrow of light. She flew straight into the sky. Her speed was too fast. Although the mutated beastmen had surrounded her, they couldn't catch up to her. Yu Yang, on the other hand, was different from her. He chose to move forward along the cliff path, flying across the natural stronghold. The 5 mutated beasts surrounded and tried to intercept him, but Yu Yang's movement technique was mysterious and unparalleled. It was strange and ever-changing, like the wind and shadow. Although the 5 mutated beasts attacked him with all their might, they couldn't even touch the corner of Yu Yang's clothes. No need to chase. He will die even faster if he goes up. The golden-haired monster guy leader Ngu waved his hand, signaling the 5 mutated beastmen who couldn't stop Yu Yang to come back. Let's tear this old turtle apart. Roar, roar. All the mutated beastmen used all their strength. Sharp claws, giant fists, iron palms, snake tails, wolf fangs, insect horns, and other attacking methods, heavily attacking the protective barrier. The old dragon turtle remained silent as he muttered to himself, maintaining the protective barrier. He defended until the end and didn't retaliate at all. Although more than 10 mutated beastmen took turns to attack, the protective barrier's defense was too strong. All the mutated beastmen were panting from exhaustion, but the protective barrier was still intact. The golden-haired monster guy, leader in Goo, had been observing all this while. He realized that the old dragon turtle's body was trembling even more violently, as if he was going to fall to the ground soon. He immediately regained his confidence and shouted loudly, "This old fellow can't hold on for long. Continue attacking." Yu Yang, who didn't encounter many obstacles, ran to the end of the Heavens Road and ran to the island. On the island, there were also 4 pillars that reached the sky, supporting the second, slightly smaller island. Looks like there were still the second hall and third hall above them. Between the giant pillars, there was a tall and majestic palace. 6,000 years had passed. Although the luster of the palace had dimmed, the carved railings and jade walls were still there. In the dark and silent atmosphere, it was obviously extremely sorrowful. In the past, when the prison emperor built this palace, everyone in the world worshipped it. Even the strong warriors of the heaven realm were buried here in the end. However, 6,000 years had passed. The prison emperor who fought against the 3 great leaders of the heaven realm was not recognized by anyone anymore. He didn't even leave a trace in the history books. Now that he walked into the incomparably majestic prison emperor divine palace, Yu Yang couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Time flowed like water. Actually, time was a strong warrior's greatest enemy. Unless one could live forever, no one would be able to escape the elimination of time. No matter how strong one's life was, it was meaningless in the long river of time. If he couldn't live forever, who would remember that he had once appeared 6,000 years later? In an instant, Yu Yang had a thought that he had never thought of before. That was to pursue immortality. No matter if it was 100 years, 1,000 years, or 10,000 years, time was meaningless. Although the most interesting part of life was the process and not the result, if he could live forever, wouldn't life be even more interesting? If it was possible, he must pursue immortality, not only for himself, but also for the person he loved. He must be together with them forever. He definitely couldn't let time bury him. He definitely couldn't let someone from the future generation pay homage to his grave, just like how he was paying homage to the prison emperor's grave, the prison emperor divine palace. He definitely couldn't let that happen. While Yu Yang's thoughts were in turmoil, he was lost in thought. Suddenly, a few indistinct figures appeared on his left and right side. Among them, a hoarse voice mocked. Sha Fei came back and said that a strange man and woman made him feel uneasy. He didn't expect them to be such a dumb goose. Look, this brat isn't scared silly, right? In front of a great enemy. He is actually in a daze? If I knew it would be like this, I would have gone to kill that girl. That girl looks pretty good. She's worth playing with. So that birdman is called Sha Fei. Forget it. His name isn't important. Yu Yang summoned the white jade beetle. Immediately, the entire hall was filled with a kind of clean light. The light pierced through the darkness of the hall. I hate light. The few figures twisted their bodies. One of the figures with a wretched appearance even groaned in discomfort. Although this kind of light cannot be absorbed directly, it is still very useful for us to recover after we convert it. Good stuff, I want it. The figure that made the hoarse voice appeared. His upper body was similar to a demon king, but it was slightly different from the demon king that Yu Yang had seen before. This fellow's body and energy were much more condensed. He was only about 2 meters tall. His upper body seemed to be made of flesh, but his lower body was made of thick smoke. He had not formed a solid body yet. Even though he had lost his original body and the body he formed was incomplete, his strength was greatly reduced. However, this demon still had the strength of an innate level 5. When he appeared, a crystal tombstone at a distance away from the hall immediately lit up with runes. The runes on the tombstone flashed rapidly. Slowly, the rune started to rotate as if it had a life of its own. The hoarse-voiced demon groaned in pain. The thick smoke below his waist seemed to be attracted by an invisible force and gradually dissipated into the air. Yang calmed down. Looks like the prison Emperor Divine Palace's seal was still there, and its power had not decreased. Although these Heaven Realm warriors had used some kind of secret technique to wake up from their eternal slumber, they could not escape the seal. They usually hid their bodies and deceived the prison emperors to seal them, but once they appeared, they would immediately be restricted by the seal. To Yu Yang, who was trying to break through, this was good news. I still can't do it. This damned prison emperor's will, this damned seal. This is so annoying. I hate these damn humans. Human, don't be arrogant. Although I only have 3 minutes, I only need 10 seconds to kill you, idiot. Prepare to die. The hoarse-voiced demon pointed at Yu Yang arrogantly. He mocked him coldly while releasing his chi. That explosive chi violently shook the entire prison Emperor Divine Palace. Hey, don't make too big a move. We don't want to be implicated by you. Don't activate all the seals. A few shadows protested. Don't worry, I only need 1 strike to end this battle. The hoarse-voiced demon was full of confidence. Do you think you're Ultraman? Other than proving that you are impotent, is there any other meaning in 3 minutes? Yu Yang shrugged his shoulders in boredom. Die. The hoarse-voiced demon was extremely angry. His sharp claws that could tear the earth apart fiercely slashed towards Yu Yang's head. Even the space seemed to have been torn apart. When the demon's companions saw this, they all laughed sinisterly. They believed in the ending without a doubt. How could a lesser innate human child survive the full strength attack of his companion, who had the strength of an innate level 5? The answer was absolutely impossible. A loud bang resounded. The stone floor of the prison Emperor Divine Palace was swept by the claws. 5 deep and terrifying claw marks were left on the ground. Broken stones flew everywhere. The dust that had been sealed for 6,000 years flew up and covered half of the prison Emperor Divine Palace. It didn't disperse for a long time. All right, Guya, how long are you going to act cool for? Seeing that their companion's posture didn't change at all, the shadows felt that this fellow loved to act cool. Didn't he just kill a lesser innate human child? Was there a need to act cool like this? Could it be that you haven't killed a human for a long time and are enjoying the pleasure of killing someone? Did you orgasm? That wretched shadow laughed lewdly. Boom, boom. The hoarse-voiced demon didn't reply. He suddenly fell to the ground. The head rolled more than 10 meters away like a rubber ball. It rolled to a person's feet. Yu Yang used his feet to step on the demon's head that died with grievances. His smile was even brighter than the sun. The shadows were puzzled when they saw this. How come this human boy didn't die, but their companion died instead? This was impossible. Although their companion hadn't recovered his full strength, he was still an innate level 5. Their companion, who was an innate level 5, was actually killed by a lesser innate? Who would believe this kind of result? What exactly happened just now? What kind of power killed their companion? Not allowing the few shadows to investigate further, the runic circle on the crystal pillar shone even brighter. A pillar of light shot out, forming a white whirlpool in the middle of the hall. The demon's head and body were all turned into black smoke in the middle of the white whirlpool and were absorbed into the whirlpool. In less than half a minute, other than the black pearl that Yu Yang was stepping on, the demon with the hoarse voice seemed to have never appeared before. His companion, the shadows, became frightened. That wretched shadow's voice became even more frightened as he screamed, "Dead! This is not a seal. This is a real death. Damn it, this damned human has the ability to destroy souls." Guya's soul was destroyed by him. Did you guys see that? No, I don't want to fight with an enemy who has the ability to destroy souls. I finally escaped from the seal. I don't want to be killed. Calm down, what happened? The beautiful birdman, called Sha Fei, spread his golden wings and flew over from afar. It's all your fault, Sha Fei. Your information was wrong. This human has the ability to destroy souls. He is as terrifying as the Heaven Realm's adjudicator who is in charge of judging souls. You caused Guya's death. He was killed in an instant." The wretched shadow roared in anger and fear. "What?" That beautiful birdman Sha Fei stared at Yu Yang in disbelief. "A lesser innate instantly killed an innate level 5. How is this possible? The real show has just begun." Yu Yang picked up the black pearl under his feet and kept it in his lich ring. On his face, there was a smile that made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. But when the enemy saw this, they couldn't help but shiver. Chapter 333. Sha Fei, you have a body. You should fight this battle. I hate opponents who could destroy souls the most. Even if there is a 1 in 10,000 chance of death, I will not fight. Everyone, I'm going to sleep now. Do whatever you want. Don't disturb me." That wretched shadow suddenly disappeared. His terrified voice reverberated throughout the prison Emperor Divine Palace for a long time. The other shadows seemed to be hesitating, but they didn't disappear and go back to sleep. What a coward. Unable to accomplish anything, but good at spoiling things. The beautiful birdman Sha Fei laughed coldly, but he didn't stop his companions from escaping. "This battle should be fought by you. Sha Fei, in these 100 years, it was your turn to guard the first hall. As the palace guard, you have the duty to capture the enemy. Moreover, you have a complete body, different from us. We can only appear for 5 minutes at most. We can't even leave the first hall. You have the advantage in terms of time and freedom. That's why, Sha Fei, you should fight. We will assist you from the side. This young human is not simple. No matter what method he uses to kill Guya, you cannot be careless. After all, Guya's death is an undeniable fact." The tallest shadow stood up and spoke loudly. "I know. In other words, you are all afraid of death. Not long ago, I remember that Luda, you were the bravest warrior under the Heaven Realm Saint Palace. I never thought that after losing your body, you would actually be so afraid of death. This is really surprising." Sha Fei smiled indifferently. "These are two different things. If I was the palace guard, I would definitely not say anything." The tallest shadow snorted coldly, but didn't refute. Humans are very good at hiding their strength. But no matter how much they hide, they would not be stronger than innate level 3. Guya's death was probably because he had underestimated his opponent. At the same time, he was killed by the opponent's divine weapon or some kind of treasure. Did you think that with his strength, he would be able to use a divine weapon or a peerless treasure that could instantly kill a level 5 and 8? The more powerful the divine equipment is, the more powerful the divine equipment will be. The prison emperor back then is the best example. Sha Fei glanced at Yu Yang, and the golden wings on his back rose up high. His entire body emitted thousands of rays of light, as bright as the sun. The first hall was as bright as day. The light was so blinding that even if he used his hands to block his eyes, he wouldn't be able to open his eyes, much less see anything. The heat that could burn the heavens and the earth rose rapidly in the first hall. In the end, it was like a solar storm, engulfing the entire place. In the center of the solar storm, Shafai snorted with an arrogant tone. "If you think that you can scare me by killing Guya, you are very wrong." Yu Yang smiled and summoned his gold grimoire. Raised the barrier. He was also accumulating energy. The energy of the Yang pole and Yin pole rotated in his body like a pool of water, accumulating more and more, waiting for the moment to explode. "Help! Help! Help me!" Outside the hall, there was a panicked exclamation. Led by the golden-haired monster man Angus, a few bloodied mutated orcs rushed into the hall. They seemed to be chased by someone, and all of them looked terrified. Other than the leader of the monster men, Angus, who was unharmed, the rest of the mutated orcs were covered in blood. 2 of them were on the verge of death and needed the help of their companions to escape. Seeing this, Shafai's eyes flashed. He stretched out his left hand and pressed down on the void. Thousands of light arrows shot out. In an instant, the few mutated orcs were killed on the spot. The scorching solar storm easily turned their corpses into ashes, leaving nothing behind. Other than the monster men leader Angus, who managed to escape behind a huge pillar in time, the rest of the mutated orcs were vaporized. They didn't even have the time to scream. The monster men leader Angus was so scared that his face turned pale and his body trembled. Angus, don't worry. Although you, who had reincarnated into a human in the stomach of a parasitic beast, is completely useless, I will still spare your life for the sake of our friendship in the past. Shafai's arrogant tone echoed in the first hall. Hearing this, Angus's body trembled even more. His lips trembled as if he wanted to say something, but he couldn't say anything. Cough, cough, cough. Inside the first hall, the old dragon turtle walked in with his walking stick, his body hunched like an old man. He walked very slowly, as if he would collapse and die at any time. Including Yu Yang, no one thought that this old fellow would end the battle so quickly. He even chased after the mutated orcs all the way, scaring them to the point that they pissed their pants. Just based on this point, Yu Yang felt that it would be better if this old man didn't flip out. Once he flipped out, he wouldn't be someone to be trifled with. A sharp killing intent flashed past Shafai's eyes, but he smiled gently and said, Luda, Du Di and Bao One, look who's here. Take a look, it's our old friend Yuan. Long 6,000 years have passed, but the old general under the prison emperor is still alive. Isn't this worthy of our applause? Especially since our old friend didn't hesitate to come here with heavy injuries to take revenge. Shouldn't we fulfill his wish and let him die here, forever following the great prison emperor in his heart? Welcome, my dearest friend. I don't want to die. I guarantee that your wishes will be fulfilled to the best of their abilities. The old dragon turtle coughed a few times and looked at Yu Yang. He mumbled to himself like an old man. I'm old and useless. If I can die here, then I won't have lived in vain. This old fellow is already so old. What's the matter? Even if I die, I won't lose anything. Yu Yang hurriedly waved his hands. Old turtle, it's not your turn to be a hero. Go to the side. This is the world of us youngsters. Don't mess around. Although I'm old and can't use it anymore, I can still kill one or two of them. The old dragon turtle didn't listen to Yu Yang's advice. He leaned on his walking stick and staggered toward Sha Fei, towards this stubborn old man. Yu Yang really couldn't do anything. There were a few times when he wanted to use a brick to smash this old man to the ground and drag him out. Not only was this old turtle old, he was also heavily injured. What was he trying to show off? If he didn't rely on this youngster, could it be that he had to rely on this old turtle? In the end, looking at the stubborn back view, Yu Yang held back and quietly watched him challenge Shafai. Anyway, even if he couldn't win, it didn't matter. This old fellow's turtle shell was especially hard. It shouldn't be a problem for him to stay alive. Seeing that the old dragon turtle actually dared to challenge him, Shafai laughed coldly. His right hand pressed forward like before. Millions of light arrows shot out furiously. The solar storm was 10 times stronger than before. The light arrows covered the sky and engulfed the old dragon turtle. The entire main hall became as bright as day again. After a long time, it slowly disappeared. When the first main hall returned to normal, Shafai's eyes turned cold, because he realized that the solar light arrow that he used almost all of his strength did not harm the old dragon turtle at all. At this moment, the dragon turtle barrier on the old dragon turtle's body became extremely small. It could only cover his short and skinny body. After the heavy attack, just now, the old dragon turtle's outer appearance was broken, but it didn't collapse. But as long as the barrier was still there, the old dragon turtle's body would be fine. Yuan Long, don't think that I can't do anything to you. When Sha Fei saw that the turtle-shaped barrier was almost shattered, he suppressed the anger in his heart. He gathered an even larger ball of energy in his hands and threw the ball of light that was as scorching as the sun towards the old dragon turtle. He was prepared to kill him in one hit. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion shook the entire main hall. Even though Yu Yang had summoned his gold grimoire and raised his grimoire barrier, he still felt a majestic energy attack seeping into his grimoire barrier and pressuring him. He had only endured a little bit of the shock wave from the attack and the airflow from the explosion, but he already felt slightly uncomfortable. Then how was the old dragon turtle, who was at the center of the explosion and was at the center of the attack? When the shock wave from the explosion had passed, the light disappeared. The old dragon turtle's withered body, which was like a tree in old age, was still standing motionless. This old fellow's defense was too strong. Even though he was heavily injured, he was still able to endure such a terrifying attack. As expected of the legendary old dragon turtle with the best defense in the world, Yu Yang admired the old dragon turtle very much. In terms of attack power, Yu Yang didn't think that he would be weaker than anyone. But in terms of defense, he really couldn't compare to the old dragon turtle. His defense was simply not on the same level as the old dragon turtles. Again, Shei-Fi saw this, and the corner of his eyes twitched slightly. He snorted coldly. He realized that the old dragon turtle's turtle-shaped barrier had already been completely broken. Would he be able to take a third strike from me with his old body that had yet to recover from his serious injuries? If he were to use his third attack, he would definitely be able to kill this old dragon turtle in an instant. Definitely. The tall figure called Luda suddenly stood out and stopped him. Stop! When Shei-Fi heard this, he was so angry that he laughed. My dear friend, Warrior Luda, who has a strong sense of justice, how is it? Could it be that your benevolence is starting to show? You want to protect this enemy because of his stubbornness, his blind loyalty, and his perseverance. Are you touched? My friend, please allow me to remind you before I get angry. This is our enemy, our common enemy. 6,000 years ago, he had cruelly massacred our soldiers and even killed our comrades. For example, your cousin had died in his hands. Have you forgotten because it has been so long? Do you want me to remind you of more names to refresh your memory? That Ludo waved his hand. Don't let anger get to your head. Shei-Fi, I am not stopping you to help the enemy. I am helping you. Could it be that you still haven't realized what Yuan Long's ultimate goal is? He wants to exhaust your energy. In this prison emperor divine palace, energy cannot be easily obtained. Once it is exhausted, it cannot be recovered in a short period of time. Even if you don't attack, Yuan Long will not live for long. However, you have already wasted too much energy on him. What? Shei-Fi was naturally not an idiot. When he heard this, he immediately reacted. This old fellow was actually playing tricks on him? I can only do this much. Brat, the rest is up to you. The old dragon, turtle spat out a mouthful of blood and sat on the ground dispiritedly. His breathing was weak, as if he could die at any time. However, he just couldn't die. Nonsense. Even if he didn't try to show off and help me block 2 of his attacks, I would still be able to defeat him. Yu Yang stuffed the white jade beetle into the old dragon turtle's hands and scolded him. If you're injured, you should stay at home and recuperate. You are already so old, yet you still run around everywhere. You even like to stand up for others. Do you think that you are still the boss of Temple Street? There are many ways to kill an enemy. What you are doing is the stupidest way, do you understand? However, since you want to save your face after I win, I will also give you some of the credit. I am lending you this white jade beetle. Return it to me after you have healed your injuries. Don't lose it. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and attack. Now is the time when the opponent's energy is at its weakest. Slow down. Are you trying to anger me to death? When the old dragon turtle saw Yu Yang acting so carelessly, he almost wanted to beat him up with his walking stick. Be careful, Shei-Fi. This young human is really strange. When Ludus saw Yu Yang's expression that seemed to be smiling yet not smiling, he hurriedly warned his comrade. Humph, Shei-Fi naturally had a bad premonition. However, he really didn't believe that a human who was at most innate level 3 could defeat him. Is he really innate level 6? It won't be easy to kill him instantly. Yu Yang sighed slightly. His figure suddenly flashed and appeared behind Shei-Fi, whose body was shining like the sun. He stretched out his hand. The world exterminating wheel appeared instantly. Shei-Fi had just turned around and was about to release his strongest solar storm attack to kill his opponent on the spot. However, when he saw the terrifying world exterminating wheel flickering half a meter in front of him, he immediately turned pale with fright. He wanted to escape, but a little Lamia lowly suddenly appeared in front of him. Her pair of big eyes that seemed to be able to speak stared at him. Binding? It's over. Shafai realized that he couldn't move his body at all. The shadow of death loomed over his mind. Suddenly, a thought flashed across his mind. He had found the cause of Guya's instant death. It was the world-exterminating wheel and binding inherent skill that instantly killed him. However, was the tragedy that happened 10 minutes ago going to happen to him again? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.